Where there's no democracy, people are not free to be the best that they can be. Nothing.
We will have a very interesting program this evening. The Kudos for Q committee is honoring one of Dominica's champions.
No drive to succeed.
For me, a very, very old friend.
When people cannot receive what they deserve, men who held their dignity in their commitments, even when targeted by their own government. Come, let's deal it.
So if you're still wondering, we're honoring one of our champions, like I said, great Dominican personality. And that's what the Kudos for Q committee does. Every now and then we take time off to honor one of our heroes, our local heroes from Dominica.
He's what we have to give. To those who stand for the law and rights and against crime in the land. And whereas defense justice for you, God, Lord. On Emmanuel, so the patriots of the air. Ask me to deliver this bouquet. Flowers to you, sir, before you go away. Those who trust in the blessings in service to mankind rather than favoritism for a politician. Sports, health, culture, agriculture, education. On a salary, happily enough to survive all, but they gave their own weathering best. They made mistakes, yes, but they were honest. In these times of lies, deception, and greed, we must reconsider those we took for granted and lift them up on the highest stage and pick them up for the difference they made. Oh, oh, flowers, flowers, it's what we have to give.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get down to doing this evening. Like I said, it's another Monday night, and this Monday night is a special one, December the 11th. And we're doing this special honoring on a great month for a lot of us, right? It's the month of December. And we're doing a special honoring in the month of December. We've gone through quite a number of people whom, we have decided to ensure that we show Dominicans how important they are to us, how important they've been to us, and how we need to lift them up. But tonight I'm going to let Mr. G, the chairman of the Kudos for Q committee, provide you with our platform this evening as we start this night going. Mr. G, a very good evening to you.
Well, very good evening to you as well, Pastor Rodney. I'm hearing a little feedback coming through the mic from somebody's mic country, but I think it's okay now. Well, let me say very good evening to you, Pastor Rodney, and to our esteemed 16th Dominican National Hero designate, Dr. Hazel Maria Shillingford Ricketts, distinguished medical doctor and ophthalmologist. As everybody knows, your remarkable children, I mean, we want to say hello to them. Your daughter-in-law, Larissa, Mr. Cedric Joseph, also fondly known as your fourth son. I was going to include Pastor Roddy as your fifth son. But good evening also to all our kudos to our Heroes Committee members and our Q95 team in Dominica. Lucy is on with us, and other wonderful folks who are with us now on the StreamYard link and may be joining us later. I know that Crispin Gregoire will be joining us. Also, that Corinne Francis will be joining from San Francisco. Crispin will be joining from New York. I want to say good evening also to our highly cherished and highly favored Q family listeners and members and friends of Dominica everywhere. I want to present this citation this evening in three parts and with great pleasure indeed. Dr. Ricketts, you are indeed a very humble but strong, fearless, and resilient lady. We acknowledge your distinguished late husband of 43 years, His Excellency Dr. Paul Ricketts. Born in England, passed on September 16, 2017. I acknowledge also your late dad, Thomas Hughes Shillingford, who was a surveyor and a civil engineer. He was born in Salisbury, Dominica in December of 2017. He passed in September of 1996. You are, in fact, the eighth of his 9 children. 6 of your surviving siblings on your father's side live in Canada and 1 in St. Lucia. We salute them all. You are the second of your late mom, Hazel Pierre's 3 children, and I especially acknowledge her as well. She was born in March of 1921 in St. Joseph. She passed in May of 1986. Your only surviving sibling on your mother's side, on your mom's side, is Mrs. Janice Jean-Jacques Thomas, who is the executive director of the Dominica Social Security. We salute your sister, Mrs. Janice Jean-Jacques Thomas, as well. Let me say that your late husband, His Excellency Dr. Paul Ricketts, I know that he was appointed ambassador at large for the Commonwealth of Dominica with effect from February 1, 2016. He was the national epidemiologist and surveillance officer. You got married to Paul on July 14, 1984 in Jamaica, while you were both medical students at UWI Mona campus in the class of 1948. I know that Paul was born in Birmingham, UK, but was brought up in Jamaica by his grandparents from the age of 7 when his mom passed. He passed at home in Dominica on September 16, 2017, just 2 days before Hurricane Maria. Our deepest, sincerest condolences, of course, for the loss of all of your cherished loved ones. We know that you love and cherish all of your 4 children as well, and your 3 grandchildren, and we salute them all. So tonight we're paying a very special tribute to a great lady. And your son, Paul Anthony Ricketts, let's talk about him a little bit. He studied business. He was involved in a motorcycle accident in January of 2017, and as a result, he is now a bilateral above-knee amputee. He resides in Birmingham in the UK. He recently got married to Sergeant Kyle Ricketts in the British Army Medical Corps. Your son, Peter Ricketts, is an IT specialist. He is the CEO of his company, Open Solutions for Health. He's married to Larissa Ricketts. I think she's on the Zoom with us, on the link with us tonight, and I want to welcome her warmly. And an accountant and a businesswoman in her own rights. They have 2 daughters, Celeste. Celeste is 4 years old, and Naya is 8 months old. Congratulations to all of them. I'm sure they're wonderful kids. Your son, Mario Ricketts, is an American board certified optician. He manages Optical Services Limited, your family-owned glasses shop. Your daughter, Jessica Ricketts, S3, holds a degree in biology. She is assistant manager of your business, HMS Eye Center and Optical Services Limited. She recently opened her own business, Triage Health Diagnostic Center. She's married to Emmanuel Esri, who studied economics and works at Sagicor Insurance. They have 1 daughter, Hazel, who is now 2 years old and counting. So all of this, Pastor Rodney, confirms my very strong belief that apples do not fall far from the tree. They certainly don't fall far from their tree. And apple trees certainly do not make oranges. You see all these kids and the accolades, they certainly took after their mom and their dad. We salute your four distinguished children, Dr. Ricketts, they're Paul, Peter, Mario, and Jessica, and your three beautiful grandchildren, Celeste, Naya, and Hazel. 2 days after your husband passed, on September 16, 2017, Dominica was hit by Category 5 Hurricane Maria on September 18, 2017, which damaged your home and businesses. But through it all, you continued providing eye care. You certainly continued providing eye care. This was a time of distress and heartache, but through it all, your sister Janice was a rock of support for you. Congratulations to her as well. You surely miss your best friend, I'm sure, of 36 years and your loving husband of 33 years, His Excellency Dr. Ranford Paul Ricketts. He was appreciated and respected by his family, his friends, his peers, staff, and patients. Your children, I'm getting a little feedback. Somebody's mic might be open. If they could shut it, I'm not sure if it is Judith, but if your mic is open, could you just turn it off? It might help us to get a little bit more clarity in the call. Thank you so much. Your children in their tribute, so one referred to him as the greatest man I have ever known. Another said, you were more than just a man. You embodied a vision, one that will transcend time, touch lives, and inspire many generations to come. You will forever be my hero. Another remarked, I see you when I look in the mirror. Rest easy while I carry on the next chapter. Another expressed, I feel extremely blessed to have had a love as unconditional as yours. But through it all, Dr. Ricketts, you always found time to serve your country outside of the medical scope. Here you are in your own words. One of my most cherished collaborations was being a pioneer of the A-level exam support group, aimed at preparing students for university. It spoke to my passion for education. I still provide support as necessary. Recently, I raised funds for lab supplies. As a mother, I'm proud of our children for the love and respect they had for their dad. He made sacrifices for them. He was a hands-on dad. He supported my professional and personal development. A poem from Khalil Gibran sums up all our relationships. Love each other, but do not overshadow each other. Support and nurture one another, but do not force each other to be led or pushed in a direction that you do not wish to go. Allow each other to grow and unfold in your own special way while taking delight in the newness of each other, of each dawn together. This poem, I believe, speaks to the difficult balance between the independence and intimacy in a marriage. So a special good evening to you, to all of you, our Dominican and worldwide Q family listeners, or kudos to our heroes, committee members who are with us tonight. I'm sure those of them who are not on the link with us tonight at home listening, because everyone could not be on it. We have a limited number that we could handle. From various parts of the UK, the US, Canada, and Dominica. These were our members. They're all over the place. We're having another global event tonight because messages from fans and colleagues and affiliates and Q family listeners and all of your beneficiaries, Dr. Hazel Ricketts at home and abroad. Everyone in the Q family is tuned into Q95 right now on our live audio at www.q95da.com, on our radio frequencies, TV, YouTube, and on Facebook at Q95FM Radio, and on our many other streaming platforms like TuneIn and Radio Garden, among others. So tonight we are indeed honoring an unconstrained, highly distinguished lady, a medical luminary, a national treasure on the big station. I'm absolutely delighted and indeed privileged to say a very, very special good evening and to embrace the distinguished members of our Q95 Heroes Committee, Mrs. Janice Williams in Toronto, Canada, retired U.S. Army Command Sergeant Major Ralph Alcindor in Atlanta, Georgia, Miss Corinne Francis in San Francisco, Dr. Simone Matthew in Atlanta, Georgia, former UN Ambassador Crispin Gregoire in New York, Dr. Dion George in Atlanta, Georgia, Mr. Leroy Wadix Charles in Dominica, and of course yourself, Pastor Rodney in Dominica. So to our cherished listeners, be sure to join our live stream as you're doing now. Like our pages, share it live on Facebook and YouTube at Q95 FM Radio and our several other streaming platforms. Because I want to say that my fellow Dominicans, or our cherished and extended Q family listeners and friends of Dominica at home and abroad, as chairman of the Q95 Kudos to Heroes Committee, and on behalf of our entire committee, we feel honored to present Dr. Hazel Ricketts to Dominica, to the region, and to the world as our 16th national hero. So I end this first part of my citation here for you to give you a chance, Pastor Rodney, to have a little tete-a-tete if you'd like, to play some tributes, to take a few calls if you'd like, and as you see fit, I will do the other two parts of the citation after that.
Thanks, Mr. G, as usual. Well put together, and I'm sure we have so much more to say about that lady that everybody knows as Dr. Ricketts Shillingford. I know as Hazel, and I'm happy that her cousin Judith Pestina is online with us as well this evening, Mr. G. I happen to know that Hazel Shillingford quite a number of years ago. You know, if you have friends, and I know you a guy, you are Roseau people, but you know, people like Hazel and myself, we knew how to climb up trees and pick govers. And every time she came down to the family property at Boulot, I lived in Kulibistri most of my life, right? So from way back then, I happen to know that person. So that's why Hazel comes so easy, because we go back so many years back. So I know you're not involved in that. You don't climb trees, Mr. G. You're an
Well,
office guy.
I think when you spoke about Roseau people, you were referring to Dr. Simone Matthew. But I'm from Granby in the deep south, as you know. So we used to climb in many trees.
All right, all right. Well, I can tell Dominicans that Hazel, you know, she climbed trees as well, you know, way back then. And tonight, I really feel honored to have to host this honoring program this evening. So many moons later, I would not have dreamed that we'd be doing that tonight, but so many moons later we get to do that. So I feel honored as well just to know that I am sitting here with the host mic, honoring one of Dominica's great ladies, really great ladies. And I really don't say that just for saying it. I really mean every word of that. And we will discover quite some about that as we go along this evening. I'm sure Dr. Simone might know, well, maybe she knows Hazel like I do, but I'm sure she will share her thoughts on honoring Hazel. You know, I sit back sometimes and think of the days we sit down and look for, try to identify these great Dominicans, and some of these people came so easy. And I can probably say on behalf of the committee that Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts has been on our list for quite some time, Mr. G. Is that correct?
Oh yes, you're certainly right there. You're quite correct.
Right. So we didn't just suddenly think about her. We've been thinking about honoring her now for probably more than a year now, maybe running 2 years almost.
That's correct. That's correct too. It's probably like 2 years now.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm really appreciative that we finally got to do that. Simone, you are on here, and I want to give you the first shot as the next member of the committee here. I'm expecting um, Wadix to join me this evening at some point. He's still doing some work, Mr. G, and I can't tell you what work he's doing, but he's still doing some work in regard to tonight. I'm sure when he joins us, he will be able to do that. He'll be able to see that.
Excellent.
Simone, let's hear you on Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts this evening.
Yes, thank you so much, Pastor Rodney. Good evening to Dr. Ricketts, her family, Mr. G, the Kudos to Our Heroes committee members, the rest of the panel who has joined us to celebrate Dr. Ricketts, our listeners on Q95 FM radio, as well as everyone who is listening and viewing on Facebook and YouTube Live. It is indeed an honor to be here as a member of the Kudos to Our Heroes Committee to celebrate the life and legacy of Dr. Ricketts. I cannot say that I've had the privilege of meeting Dr. Ricketts, but as a Dominican, it is certainly, I am very proud to be here to celebrate her life and her legacy. And she is such an important role model for us as Dominicans, as women, and as people in general, because I am sure, based on the information that we will discover this evening, that Dr. Ricketts has faced many challenges along the way, along the path of success that she created for herself. But I think what we are finding as we continue to do this Kudos to Our Heroes recognition is that the difference with our heroes is that they find a way to push past these obstacles, to get around obstacles, to go through obstacles, because they are so determined to live out the purpose that they were put on this earth for. So with that, I want to say I am very honored to be here as a member of the committee to celebrate the life and the legacy of Dr. Ricketts, and to just show us that so many of us are stagnant. So many of us are lacking direction, but when we set our minds to it and we follow the role models of distinguished Dominicans like Dr. Ricketts, we find our path to success. So as we are looking at the end of the year coming upon us so quickly, I think it is an opportunity for reflection in our own lives and to determine that if we are stagnant right now, how can we use role models like Dr. Ricketts to inspire us to push our life so that we can become a success in whatever field that we choose to aspire in. So again, thank you for having me, Mr. G, and the rest of the Kudos to Our Heroes Committee. We take great pleasure in coming up with the names in the committee. And, sometimes it is so overwhelming because so many Dominicans have contributed greatly to who we are as a people. But I'm happy that this evening we are taking the time to honor Dr. Ricketts. So Dr. Ricketts, congratulations to you on receiving this distinction. And I look forward to enjoying this program this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Simone, and we appreciate those comments as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know that live in studio with me, of course, is Dr. Ricketts herself and her two champion sons, one on the left and one on the right. She's well flanked this evening by two of her sons, and she's sitting right here. So we'll have a time you will have a time to interact with her this evening. We're going to be here for the long haul, like we say, from a certain former prime minister, because we have so much to say about Dr. Ricketts. But I'm going to break a little bit and get into a couple of these tributes from family. And when we do that, I'll come back and chit chat with Dr. Ricketts a little bit about family. I know she's a serious family person. I happen, like I said, to know her very well. And for some reason, she didn't do that. But for some reason, her husband was my personal doctor. So somehow I was well tied into this family. So I love the whole family thing, certainly. But let's do that first. Let's get a tribute from, which is recorded for us from Anthony. And then I'll read you something that I have here, I think, from Jessica, that blows Mr. G's brains off when he read it. And I'll read that in your hearing. And we'll pause a while and talk about family and where she came from. Because when people hear, back in my day growing up, when you heard doctor, people like Hazel didn't qualify. And I probably can say that very boldly. It was other people who qualified. But when you grew up the way that she grew up, doctor wasn't something that, you associated with people who coming up from Zenjo and, these places back down there. But she, against all odds, became one of our champion doctors, studied at the University of West Indies, as you heard from Mr. G. So I want to start with this family thing. And I want people to know, Simona, as you said, that it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, what's your background, what's your family relations. There is potential in every one of us. And I'm sure a little later, Corey will tell that to us as well as we when we go forward. So let's take those two tributes and then we will get into that brief conversation with Dr. Ricketts, and we'll come back to take quite a number of tributes we have here. And I've listened to every one of them. So I tell you something, you are in for a treat this evening. All right. So let's listen to Anthony Ricketts tonight.
I'm delighted and honored to be here this evening to speak on the behalf of our Queen Mother, Dr. Shillingford Ricketts, and the influence she has had on our lives. For as long as I can remember, I have watched my mother do and accomplish amazing feats, coming from humble beginnings and pushing herself beyond her circumstances she had no control over, and setting herself on a path of academic excellence, granting her the opportunity via scholarship to attend medical school in Jamaica to become a doctor. It is here she found a great man that also pulled himself up from humble beginnings, whom she married and started a family, with me being the firstborn in Kingston, Jamaica. Bound by duty, she had to return to Dominica along with my father to begin their journey selflessly serving and providing top-tier healthcare and just overall people service to the country of Dominica. Not long after that, she had to make the hard decision to leave her family to specialize in eye care, meaning that we had to learn from a young age to understand that our parents had to be absent in order for them to fulfill their obligations, thus setting the tone at home very early. We understood that our mother had to be away months at a time during her years studying abroad, not only having to deal with being a mother away from her young family of now 4 children, but overcoming various social obstacles as a young Black woman alone in a foreign land in the 90s. From then on, it was one great achievement after the next, providing some of the best eye care in the region at the highest standard in her field. As the national eye specialist at the time, she showed us what hard work, discipline, and diligence look like, with history making eye surgeries, running the eye center at the hospital, and her private practice to a standard where people flew into Dominica, where it was more affordable to receive that high quality level of care, all while having to find the time to be a mother, daughter, sister, auntie, friend, and wife. I remember days when she would take us on boat rides during the summer, boat trips during the summer, and her pager would beep, having to cut the trip short, having the boat turn around so she could attend the emergency at the hospital. We all learned from an early age what sacrifice was, what sacrifice meant, watching, listening, and learning from her and our father what perseverance, knowledge, and overall fortitude can accomplish. Outside of work, though, she would always make sure that her family and those around her were taken care of. Tried her best to see that everyone had what they needed, even if it meant using window curtains to make clothes by hand when we were small, or coming running to find out who's crying and why, all in the excitement of raising 4 children, 3 of whom are boys. I think it's safe to say she had a full plate. It is in the wake of such strength and staying power, of which I am so fortunate to be influenced by, seeing and being led by such example has equipped me with qualities and the endurance needed to push through adversities in my own personal life, and for which I am forever and immensely grateful. So, on the behalf of myself, my wife, and those whose lives you have touched, I am proud to be here today to acknowledge and celebrate you and give you your flowers while you're alive as my mother, sister of the soil, and national treasure.
Anthony Ricketts. And those are the moments when I feel good when when children can speak about their parents like that. I want to read you something that, like I said, Mr. G sent me, written by Jessica, Hazel's daughter. And she wrote that in 2021. She wrote, "You grow up, you feel invincible, you become independent, and sometimes come across as downright ungrateful. It took the moment of my initiation into motherhood to truly understand the love, strength, and importance of a mother that lasts a lifetime. I write with tears in my eyes, overwhelmed with emotion toward the superhuman I call mom. It was in this moment I was privileged to experience what it means to truly draw strength from another, to have someone lock hands and eyes with you for hours, refusing to let you lose focus, refusing to let you give up, advocating for you, your needs, wants during one of the most unpredictable moments of life, bringing forth new life. Be grateful, and the blessings flow. To one of my greatest blessings, I now understand your love to a depth that I can barely compose myself to handle. I don't even think I did justice trying to explain. You called me a champion? Well, champions are a reflection of their coach." Written by Jessica in 2021. And here we are in 2023, honoring Dr. Hazel Ricketts. Dr. Ricketts, good evening formally.
Thank you. Good evening.
and welcome to this program organized in your honor. Family. I'm a family person, so and I love people to appreciate family. I heard your son speak, and it's like, that already made my evening, quite frankly. When a son speaks about his mother in those regards, and not just that, he provided us with exactly what I know and what I thought, that you were not born with a golden spoon in your mouth. And when I hear things like using curtains to do what? Those days, some people don't want to mix things like that. Tell us about a little bit about yourself and the family aspect of that, Hazel.
You mean my family? Well, I was basically brought up in a home with a single mom, with my sister and myself. I have a brother who is now deceased, but he was 15 years older than me. So by the time I got to know myself, he had already left for England to join the Air Force. So basically, mom just had two of us. And at that time, she was a telephone operator for over 25 years, and that afforded her a lifestyle to be able to support us in Roseau. And it so happened that towards the end of her work with government as a telephone operator, they switched to cable and wireless. So she was actually the assistant head, and she was expected to move on as the head. but because of her political affiliations at the time, she was passed over and she was forced into early retirement. So now she had two of us. I'm 11, my sister Jan is 9, and my mom retired, and we're just about to go into high school. And luckily, she was an accomplished seamstress, and so she used to sew, and with her little pension, get us by. But being an inquisitive person as I am, always poking into things, went, I used to sew. I learned to sew very early. And instead of just using the machine to sew, I decided to take a screwdriver and dismount the sewing machine.
That's like a man thing, you know.
Yes. It served me well because later on I could mount up all my instruments when they came, equipment when they came in and so. But for her, that was the end of her sewing machine. She couldn't afford to buy another one. And so she had to join a friend in the village of St. Joseph, because by then we moved from Roseau to live in St. Joseph because she couldn't afford the rent and to stay. And I had to make acquaintance with taking the truck every day to school in the morning from St. Joseph. And, you know, when we went to St. Joseph, we lived with Madilo, which is a cousin of ours, the grandmother of Jeff Joe and so. And
Madilo have roots in Kulibistri as well, you know.
yeah,
Madilo had roots in Kulibistri
is
as well.
that so?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
but
yeah.
we were related to her husband. Her husband was like first cousin to my mom. And, you know, one of the things that shaped us very early was, for one, it's not every day she had money to pay the bus. So it was kind of embarrassing. You have to sneak after everybody, leave the bus to tell them that your mother.
My mother will pay later.
Yes, and then they would recite how many times they heard that from you. But, you know, for all your children's sake, we will allow it. And so, and then we moved from Madilo to live in a home next door, 2-room house, not 2 bedrooms, 2-room house and an outdoor kitchen with no electricity and no water. So we had to go to the neighbor's yard to use his bathroom. And sometimes he would get fed up, and when we go, there was a big padlock on the bathroom. So we had to go to the standpipe with a bucket to carry water home. And you try to do your homework before it got dark, or you had to use a candle to finish your homework. And we did not have bathroom facilities. So I think people at that time would know that you would use the tinsel and then you empty it out in a pail under the cellar. And next morning, you'd have to go to the bayfront to
empty it.
there.
Mm-hmm.
And if the sea is rough, you know what happens.
You
You
can't
just
get
dash
close.
everything back on you. So this was the sort of experience I had growing up. But after that, we moved. By that time, my father, who was an engineer working in Canada, up until then, he wasn't part of my life. For some reason, my mother just didn't want anything to do with him. So one of my brother Roy, who grew up in Kulibistri, who you'd know, he was godfather to one of a friend of his, Sandra John Baptist, and she came down for holidays and she met me. And she said, "Well, why your mother is having so many financial difficulties when your father is a big engineer in Canada?" I tell her, "Please do not even mention my father name wrong, my mom." And so she took me out on the side without mommy knowing, and I had to write a letter almost like I'm writing to a pen pal. And then later on, he got the letter. My brother Roy first made contact with me, and then my dad, and then he established a regular monthly allowance for me, and that made life a little bit more comfortable for us. We could afford to move into a house with electricity and bathroom facilities, and so. And but there was not much more we could do. So my activities was going back and forth to school, being in church. I was secretary treasurer of Legion of Mary with Vina Shillingford as the president. I was in liturgical committee, catechist, junior choir, anything to do with church. At that time, they did not have girls as acolytes, so that's why I was an acolyte. But and then in the girl guides, and so this was my outdoor, my extracurricular activities, and so my schooling. When I went to convent, I didn't get a scholarship. I went on a regular pass, and when I reached the second form, when mommy moved to St. Joseph, I just couldn't take that bus ride thing. So she left me in town with my godmother, but she wasn't there to ensure that I did my work. So I failed the second form and I had to repeat. And then I realized I had to, mommy pull me back into St. Joseph. And she said, whether you like it or not, you're coming back under my wing. And because my mother, if it's one thing she would not miss, was PTA meetings at school. She had to be there to get a report of what you were doing, because this was going to be her yardstick for whatever you were doing. And so I pulled up my socks. And since then, I started excelling at school, being in the top 3. And when I graduated from 5th form, I topped the class, the science class. And for CXC also, I topped for the class, for the school. And I went to 6th form. No, it was so funny that at that time, her brothers were proud that my sister and myself were doing well at school. But after 5th form, they felt my mother should send us out to work.
To work, right.
And she had a bigger vision for us. And they were upset. She was, why you have these big women still in school? And she didn't bother with them. She sent us to 6th form. And from there, I applied for a scholarship from the government to do medicine. And it was right in the year of Hurricane David. And then all the, changes with the coup and whatever it is. And at that time I was working in the French bank with Mrs. Mrs. Inglis, my first cousin. And so here I am, come from college with physics and zoology and math and chemistry. And I had to be her secretary. So, it was quite a transition.
We will come back to that, Hazel. I am very happy that our Dominican people in particular, and some of our women are listening to that story, because for me, that right there is a story of tragedy, triumph, and success, really and truly. Going through what some people now figure they just can't do, to a place where you went through it and you've become what you are today. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to come back to Hazel and to talk to us about that, because that's one of the reasons why we do what we do here on Kudos for Q, so that we honor people who have gone past. And I think Dr. Simon said very well, people who have not just sat there and expected things to come nice, but have gone past the usual and the ordinary, because we want people to know that life is possible and success is within the reach of every individual. It doesn't matter where you are coming from. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're wondering, tonight it's already 11 minutes moving up to 7 o'clock on a Monday night. And no, it's not Kingdom Connection, it's Kudos for Q, and we're honoring Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts. And we're honoring her because most of you will know all the work that she has been involved in. And we want to do that so that you too can begin to grasp something from somebody as precious as this.
Oh, yeah. If you give a little more than you take, and if you try to fix more than you break, if you're the kind who takes the time to help a stranger in the rain, there's a place for people like you.
You know, somehow I love you to hear this, because to me, honestly, the introduction of that song is maybe the best lines in the whole song, quite honestly. Hear this, hear this, hear this. Hear Grams singing that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If you give a little more than you take, and if you try to fix more than you break, if you're the kind who takes the time to help a stranger in the rain, there's a place for people like you.
So you have already heard part of that story, right? And she's been able to fix more than she broke. She broke a sewing machine. But she has helped many a stranger. And we're going to hear quite some of that as we proceed. I'm going to pause again and let you hear a couple more tributes. And then so you can begin to put this thing together. You can do like, I'm sure Hazel's mom did, and some of her mothers did, need a good flour with everything that you'll be hearing this evening about this Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts. Let's pause and let's listen to a few more people as they speak about this wonderful lady.
It is my great honor to pay tribute to a phenomenal woman who has dedicated her life to the field of medicine and ophthalmology. This woman has made a significant impact not only in Dominica but throughout the Caribbean, and her contributions have been nothing short of extraordinary. As we celebrate her lifelong transformations of accomplishments, we cannot help but be in awe of her pioneering works and meaningful social contributions. Her leadership in inspiring generations with her work ethics, caring characteristics, humility, and humanity is truly remarkable. This phenomenal woman is my sister. She has been my role model throughout my life. Her determination and many means have inspired me to be the best version of myself. And I am sure that many persons who have come in contact with her can say the same. Her work in the field of ophthalmology has been nothing short of groundbreaking. She has pioneered new techniques and treatments that have helped countless people regain their sight and improve their quality of life. Her dedication to her patients is unparalleled, and she has always gone above and beyond to ensure that they receive the best possible care. But her contributions go far beyond her work in medicine. She has been a true leader in her community, inspiring others to follow in her footsteps and making a difference in the world. Her caring nature and humility has touched the lives of countless people, and her humanity has been a shining example to all of us. As we honor her today, we must remember that her accomplishments are not just hers alone. They are the result of hard work and dedication of countless people, including our dad, Thomas Hugh Shillingford, who influenced us and taught us the importance of finding our best selves and have supported her throughout her journey. One, in part, her family and friends, colleagues, and patients have all played a role in her success. We must thank them for their contributions as well. In conclusion, I would like to say that my sister is a lady of great honor who inspires everyone she meets. Her lifelong transformation of accomplishments in the field of medicine and ophthalmology, as well as her meaningful social contributions, have made a significant impact on the world. She is a true leader, and we are all blessed to have her in our lives. Thank you, sis.
Odelia Shillingford Hawkins.
I am honored and grateful for this opportunity to celebrate my dear cousin and friend Hazel, who is being rightfully recognized as a national hero. Where do I even begin? Hazel is in every way simply remarkable. For the last 30 years, we've spoken pretty much daily, sharing our thoughts and experiences as we navigate the ups and downs of life. Through her stories, I can testify to her strength, resilience, compassion, and unwavering commitment to serving Dominicans as an ophthalmologist. She has positively impacted the lives of countless individuals through her dedicated service. She has faced her challenges head on, standing resolute in the face of adversity, and has emerged victorious, not for personal glory, but for the greater good. In this regard, she is in my mind a hero and well deserving of this award. I am so very proud of her. As a friend, she's a treasure. She's the one to call when you remember the night before that you have to design and craft a costume for your 4-year-old to go to school the next day. A Dalmatian dog one year, a princess the next, or for that matter, an exquisite ballerina tutu for Miss Dominica to take the stage. Many may not know that Hazel is a skilled seamstress that always, always comes to the rescue. Her creativity also extends the kitchen with what we like to call our progressive cooking skills. It is pure fun to combine cream corn with corned beef because that's what's in the cupboard. A little of this, a little of that, and it must taste good. Suffice to say that over the years, she has honed her chef like skills. Fun loving and carefree at the best of times, Hazel is always game to gallivant near and far, early or late, impromptu or not. She's on board at 6 a.m. when called to pick up garbage on the beach at Rockaway with the environmental group Nature. She is willing at the spur of the moment to cover herself head to toe in charcoal and oil to uphold and celebrate with me and others traditional mass as a darky. This is the other side of a formidable woman, a friend through thick and thin, the kindness, most supportive and genuine friend one could ask for. Again, she is in my mind a hero and well deserving of this award. Congratulations, Hazel. We are truly blessed to have you in our midst. You are a phenomenal woman in all dimensions, and for that, you're being celebrated. Thank you for being you.
That was Hazel's cousin, Juliet Shillingford Fidel. Let's listen to two patients.
Sincerely recommend Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts on the occasion of her being celebrated a real national hero. Honestly, she is more than just a hero. She is a national emblem and more. Dr. Ricketts, we celebrate you because you unselfishly render your services to alleviating the quality of life for your people. Eye care is a rather sensitive and highly technical and delicate area in the medical field, and therefore rather demanding. I and many others have on occasions left Dr. Ricketts' office way past 8 p.m. Her tenacity is unprecedented. She has revolutionized the practice of cataract surgery in Dominica by seeking and sourcing expert intervention in order to have clients undergo cataract surgery in both eyes within 24 hours. And thank God, I am one of those rather fortunate ones to be among the first to have had this service in what I would call a breakthrough process. I must note, though, that this could have already been done in other neighboring islands. I was rather frustrated over the fact that Dr. Ricketts was being tossed around and prevented from assisting individuals in our hospital. This, however, did not deter her. She was driven by empathy, love, and concern for the people and worked assiduously to establish a clinic. I am really of the genuine belief that Dominican professionals should be free to practice whatever area of expertise they can offer without fear of reprisal. After all, this is a team effort, and opportunities of livelihood are created for a number of other individuals, such as nurses, anesthesiologists, janitors, receptionists, etc. On the day of my surgery, I was surrounded by at least 10 professionals. I felt at ease. Everything was explained to me. I could hear the doctors consulting, sharing aspects of intervention. I was called by name throughout the session. No apprehension. just great expectation. Because of the confidence I invested in Dr. Ricketts, I waited until she finally called me in for surgery. During the period of waiting, I bounced my head, burst my toes, my clothes, as we say locally, in the wrong side. I also swallowed a couple flies with my juice and fish, well, with almost anything that I would put into my mouth. Sometimes I would put my right foot in my left shoe. I felt depressed, but I waited for Dr. Ricketts, during which time I also learned to appreciate the gift of sight. I must hasten to add, though, that Dr. Ricketts did suggest that I undergo surgery in another Caribbean island and that she would take care of me during my post-surgery period. But I refused. I had a better option. Our own Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts, until such time. I must end by shouting, hip, 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 hooray! May God grant you health and strength to continue. We love you, Dr. Ricketts, our true hero extraordinaire.
Patient Marion Austri. Let's listen to one more patient, Ishma Alexander.
My name is Kishma, and from a very early age, I suffered from serious allergies, which resulted in me rubbing my eyes constantly. My parents and I at the time never realized the damage that I was doing to my eyes until about age 10. I noticed that my vision started to seriously deteriorate and I was having difficulty seeing the blackboard at school. And I also had to hold my books very close to my face in order for me to be able to see. I was taken in to see Dr. Ricketts and I was diagnosed with keratoconus, an ailment of the eye where the corneas are seriously scarred and cone shaped. From day one, I felt at home with Dr. Shillingford, and my visits with her was not just the routine visits. She would have conversations with me about school, about life, and I just felt very confident and comfortable with her. At that point, my vision could not be corrected by glasses as the keratoconus was too advanced. So I made a few trips to Guadeloupe to get fitted with rigid contact lenses after receiving a referral from Dr. Ricketts. Eventually, my keratoconus advanced to the point where my only option was to have corneal transplants. At that point in my life, I was so scared about completely losing my vision. Dr. Shillingford was able to connect me with a gift of vision program located in Syracuse, New York, that sponsored my first corneal transplant. The airfare, accommodations for both of my parents and I, as well as the cost of the procedure, was completely covered. I returned 2 years later to have my second eye done, and again, everything was covered. The doctor who performed the surgeries is a colleague of Dr. Ricketts and speaks very highly of her. After my second transplant was performed, the doctor in Syracuse wanted to help me to go to college. So 2 years later, I returned to Syracuse, New York for college. My whole situation with my eyes really threatened my future dreams and aspirations. But ultimately, it was what opened so many doors for me, especially with pursuing my education in the US. It all started with this phenomenal woman, Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts, an angel personified in my life. I now reside and work in the US, and 24 years later, whenever I come home to Dominica to visit, I still go in for an eye checkup with Dr. Ricketts. Thank you, Dr. Ricketts, and the role you played in saving my vision and opening up so many doors in my life. I really, really appreciate you.
If you're the kind who takes the time to help a stranger in the rain, there's a place for people like you. If you stand up for those down on their knees, and lend a voice to those who cannot speak. If you shine a little light, give sight to the ones who've lost their way. There's a place for people like you. I've heard that the streets are made of gold, and when you get there, there's a hand to hold. When your day's down through, there's a place up there for people like.
It's 4 minutes after 7 o'clock in the evening, ladies and gentlemen. And we are here on Kudos for Q honoring Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts. A very good evening to do that. And those of you joining us late, we're glad that you are here nonetheless. And I see our viewers building, and I'm sure Simon will give us an idea of that a little later, just in a few minutes, of who's listening and who's watching on this, great program this evening. And as we honor Dr. Ricketts herself, we heard from friends and we heard from patients, and we have a couple of the people from the Kudos for Heroes committee tonight online with me. I can see Corinne beaming tonight. Whatever is happening in her life must be great. Corinne, a very good evening to you.
Good evening, Pastor Rodney.
Somehow you're muted, but I still don't hear you, Corinne.
Well, that will have to do with Mr. G.
No, I can't hear you at all. So you need to check. Okay. All right. You know what? It's not you. It's me. Go ahead, Corinne.
Can you hear me now?
Loud and clear.
Well, thank you very much, Pastor Rodney. I'm glad you're finally able to do the job that we have you here doing tonight.
Thank you. Once you see that, then I have confidence that I'll be well rewarded.
I am sitting here, Dr. Ricketts, and I am truly in awe because we do this work and select the persons to honor. And if I saw you on the street, I could identify you and say, yes, this is Dr. Ricketts. I know quite a few people who know you, who've had services that you've performed. But the woman that we've just all been treated with knowing a little bit more tonight has had a profound effect on me. And I do hope that those who are listening will understand the reasons why we are to continue to honor those among us who are truly angels walking this earth. And you are one of them. I want to thank you as a woman. I want to thank you for leading the way. I want to thank you for being that example to so many of us who need to see persons who are dedicated to the gifts that God has given to them and to make the best use of the gifts that God has given to them. We are in the Advent season, and it is that season of expectant hope. And tonight you give all of our listeners the kind of expectant hope that says, truly, God is among us. And that no matter the circumstances that we're going through, these are shining examples that God never leaves us nor forsakes us. And people like you, our own Dominican heroes, are the epitome of what we should celebrate and build this culture on. And really, especially for our young people, I hope many of them are listening tonight, and from your message can hear that there is no obstacle. Where you start is not where you will end up, and that the strength and courage of love, of family, of service, of dedication will become fruitful one day. So that we should never give up on our dreams, never give up on the gift that education can be, and the places that we can go because someone like you showed and demonstrated the example so that others can follow. So profoundly, I thank you for who you are, for the work you continue to do, for the struggles you continue to face, and for the mountains you continue to climb, so that we can all look proudly at you, your legacy, your family, and be proud to be Dominican, and be proud to know that even growing up in the circumstances that we do, in the country that we call a third world country, that people like you, and there are many more like you, who can follow and become the best that God has called them to be. So I thank you, and thank you to the team and to the committee for doing this work and for what it means to so many.
Thank you, Corinne. Thank you very, very much. And you just inspired me to do a little bit of change here, and I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to get back to Hazel's daughter, I think, who's with us, and Hazel's two champion fellows sitting next to her this evening, because I want them to share, as brief as it is, but as succinct. This Hazel. You said it well, Corinne. Sometimes you pass and you see, oh, that's Dr. Shillingford. Okay, that's Dr. Shillingford. But who's this Hazel that we're honoring tonight? To me, is even a more profound thing that we're doing, because we want to build society from every aspect of it. Yes, academically, and that's excellent. But we want to build people of character. We want to show people of character, people who have mettle, people who can really rise, people who are not just a buzzword of resilience, but an example, a real practice of resilience. And probably we can say that is what, for me personally, is I can say about people like you, a true picture of people who can, ride the waves and get to where we're going to get. So I'm going to pause a while. I'm going to take some tributes from friends, and then I will talk to Hazel's children a little bit, and then we come back to the professional side, Mr. G. All right, and so we can really get a good meal. I understand Hazel is a good cook as well, so we can really get a good meal tonight, a good balanced diet of who's this person that we are honoring this evening. So let's take a few friends. One of them is a fella called Felix Wilson. Let's hear from him. Then we'll hear from Thomas later, and of course the indomitable Arthie Martin.
It is an amazing privilege to honor a respected friend, Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts, for her achievements and contributions to our Dominican society. I have known Hazel for more than 30 years. Our family shared a 2-apartment house on James Lane, Goodwill. Her last 2 children are the same ages as my 2, as well as same-sex son and daughter, respectively. Her late husband, Dr. Paul Ricketts, was my doctor and dear friend. Google YouTube Yui and You with Dr. Hazel and Paul Ricketts. You will view their cherished humility, strong medical pedigree, and the ultimate benevolence and grace. In 2006, Hazel and Trevor Burton re-established GCE A-level for post-secondary students until 2012. Within those 6 years, Dominica registered the best ever GCE A-level results. Those achievements shaped the lives of tens of students accessing some of the best universities in the world, including Oxford, Yale, and University of the West Indies. Working as program coordinator, I observed Hazel's profound benevolence as she contributed personal financing for tutors' fees, books, lab equipment, among other material, to support what was deemed as the Parent Teachers A-Level Support Program. Her contributions for lab equipment at DSC continued well after 2012. Hazel, a soft-spoken, amicable, and approachable individual, is undoubtedly one of the best ophthalmologists in the Caribbean and deserves being a true Dominican hero. I share the deepest respect and admiration for Dr. Hazel Ricketts.
Dr. Shillingford Ricketts has proven herself as a great ophthalmologist who continues to provide exceptional human service to the citizens of Dominica. In addition to that, she possesses other kind and positive attributes, some of which I wish to highlight. Over the years, she has been a visible and active member of the Dominica Public Service Union, DPS, and provided much needed support on behalf of her colleagues in the medical field as a DPSU fought for improved working conditions for health professionals and all public officers in general. Dr. Shillingford Ricketts ensured that the union was provided with well-written information on matters affecting health providers. She never allowed a problem to escalate before acting. Her selfless nature saw her putting her personal interests on the back burner and taking risks which could possibly affect her negatively. Of course, many will recall her experience not too long ago when continued employment following her retirement was denied. That was the case even when there was no one on the island with her expertise and experience to replace her. Dr. Shillingford Ricketts' attendance at most general meetings of the DPSU to discuss salary negotiations and terms and conditions of work was always noticeable, and the union's leadership was always encouraged by her presence. As recently as last year, Dr. Shillingford Ricketts was at the forefront lending support to the union as it raised objections to the unfavorable terms and conditions of medical professionals at the Dominica China Friendship Hospital. She paid special interest to the plight of junior medical officers. The union listened to her. We read her correspondences and we acted. We have seen some results, but recognize that there are more issues which will have to be addressed, which means that the union will continue to engage and value the professional analysis and the contribution of Dr. Shillingford Ricketts. It is no flatter to express publicly that Dr. Shillingford Ricketts is one of Dominica's gem who love what she does and has deep love for her colleagues and fellow citizens. Dr. Shillingford Ricketts is well deserving of this recognition which is being bestowed upon her. She is a great Dominican and indeed a national hero. The Dominica Public Service Union congratulates her and express our deep thanks to her.
I have done several endorsements of prominent individuals for various awards. But this one, I must admit, is a bit of a challenge, not because of the lack of information that would support the endorsement, but because there is so much to choose from. Anyhow, I have concluded that my firm endorsement of Hazel Shillingford Ricketts for this award is based on a couple of things. Number one, she reminds me of the old imperial code which guided emperors of old. Veni, vidi, vici. I came, I saw, and I conquered. But with one slight but significant adjustment. She came, she saw, and she gave. There's no doubt in my mind that somebody as substantial as Hazel had many options open to her in her lifetime. And yet she chose to come home and give. On the basis of that alone, I believe she is worthy not just of this, but of many other endorsements. I'm also reminded of the fact that somebody gets to that stage in their life only if they are unafraid of looking at themselves in the mirror, seeing all their beautiful attributes, but also noting their faults. And Hazel really strikes me as someone who has done both and who probably on a daily basis looks in that mirror of her life and says, you know, this is good, but no, I could do better here. I could do better, and I shall. An extraordinary attribute and characteristic and trait that we would look for in people who we admire and pay attention to, such as Hazel. Thirdly, sometimes our parents would tell us, it's not your fault, it's the company you keep. Look at the company Hazel kept. Look at her choice of life partner. A gentleman who, once you got to know him, you understood the enormous value of the human mind, the human character, and of human compassion. Dr. Ricketts chose Hazel as his life companion. And in my humble opinion, that is a powerful endorsement by an extraordinary man of an equally extraordinary woman. And finally, a third reason why I am wholeheartedly endorsing Hazel for this award is the following. Confronted as we are as a country by the difficulties that we face, I asked myself, would she make a good minister of health, let us say? And the answer was a resounding yes. Would she make a good prime minister? The answer was also a resounding yes. Make a good president? And the answer was a resounding yes. Now, there are many extraordinary Dominicans who would qualify for one or even more than one of these positions. But there would be very, very few who, in my humble estimation, would qualify for all three. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts is one of that elite group of Dominicans, in my humble opinion, who deserves this and much more, whose field of endeavor she chose to be defined by a small island, Dominica, but she may as well have chosen a field of endeavor defined by something as large as a global organization. Thank you, Hazel, for what you have done and continue to do, for the example that you set, not just to other women, but I dare say, if we took the time to observe you, to other men. God bless you.
Once again.
24 minutes after 7 o'clock in the evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I can see Mr. G's ready to go. I know he has what, another two parts to this citation, Mr. G.
Well, I had two parts, but I'm thinking, Pastor Rodney, that I'm probably just going to try to do everything in one now, because you know what I think, that there's so many people who are waiting to call, and as Simone will tell you, there's so many people on the Zoom with us. We want to really give people a chance to call in and you know, and big up Dr. Hazel Ricketts. I know that's what they want to do tonight. So, Pastor Rodney, let me just say, in completing the citation, let me say that tonight we recognize, we honor and award Dr. Hazel Maria Shillingford Ricketts. And we place on the record her sacrifices, her solutions, and successes. Here are a few things about her. She was born and brought up in Roseau, Dominica, nurtured by a loving mother, Miss Hazel Pierre from St. Joseph, who named her Hazel Maria Shillingford. A very, very pragmatic mom told her at a very young age that she should not have any ears about the Shillingford surname thing because she was a Pennyford pocket. Dr. Ricketts is frequently asked, well, why did you choose to specialize in ophthalmology? And a consistent answer has always been, ophthalmology chose me. So as we present the story tonight, you will appreciate how ophthalmology is woven into the fabric of her life as she creatively sought solutions to optimize eye care with very limited resources. And during that process, she has broken many, many barriers and glass ceilings, as some people might say. Her mom, Hazel Pierre, was a telephone operator, a seamstress, and a single mother of three. Her brother, Glenn, was 15 years old, older than her, and migrated to England by the age of 17. She could not make ends meet after she was forced to take early retirement because of what she believed to be political victimization. She sacrificed her personal life to ensure that her two daughters received an education as their gateway to a better life. So due to her financial difficulties, she moved to St. Joseph, where she lived with her children for about 5 years in a house that was without electricity and water for some time. While in St. Joseph, she was deeply involved in Catholic Church. She drew on her spiritual strength to overcome her challenges and was motivated by her mom to keep focus on her goal. This paid up, of course, because she was awarded the coveted top prize for diligence on graduation from the convent high school. She excelled at the GCE O-level examinations. Her mom predicted that she would be a surgeon based on her passion for sciences, especially experiments dealing with dissection. And you see, she just told us she broke her mom's sewing machine. She attended Teacher Rosebery School, St. Martin's School, Convent High School, and Sixth Form College. Her upbringing was influenced by her mom, but also by her father, Thomas U. Shillingford from Coolibby Street, an engineer who lived in Canada for some time, and also by relatives, neighbors, movements, like the Girl Guide. You see, she told us what she did with Pastor Rodney when she was a Girl Guide. That's made him the man he is today. She was also influenced by the Black Power movement, the feminist movement, the trade union movements, and political events. These influences empowered her to be civic-minded, to be a confident Black woman, and to help others. In 1980 to 1985, she pursued a Bachelor of Medicine and Bachelor of Surgery degree at the University of the West Indies Mona campus in Jamaica on a government scholarship for which she was bonded. This is where she met this quiet young man in her medical class who caught her attention because why? Of the meticulous way he folded his lab coat at the end of each anatomy lab session. His dad had taken him and his younger sister from England to Jamaica to be cared for by their grandparents. They became good friends and they realized that they had a lot in common from their humble upbringings. They fell in love. He bought a wedding ring with proceeds from the sale of a cow. They got married in their final year at UWI. They had their first child soon thereafter. He just told us something about her a while ago. Her sister sent her mom to Jamaica to attend her wedding. And she stayed on to help with the baby. They cooked on a coal pot, used a styrofoam box to chill their drinks. It was so stressful that they were not even sure whether they would have passed the final exam. So, but he stayed home, that's her husband, while she went out to get their results from their exams. When she returned home, she jubilantly announced to the family, "You're looking at Dr. Hazel Maria Shillingford Ricketts." She said, "My mom was so overwhelmed emotionally that she fell to the ground rolling and crying. Unfortunately, however, she passed before Dr. Ricketts returned to Dominica. I'm sure she is resting in peace," she says, proud of the achievements of her daughters, because in addition to my success, my sister, Mrs. Janice Jean-Jacques Thomas, is just as successful in her academic pursuits and is now the director of the Dominica Social Security. She started there as a filing clerk to the secretary of the director and later pursued university studies. My mother used to say, "Children do not belong to you. They are God's gift to you to take care of them for Him." But let me continue by using Dr. Ricketts' own words. On completion of my medical training, I returned to Dominica to serve my bond with my husband, our first son Anthony, and 8 months later, pregnant with our second son Peter. My husband, Dr. Ricketts, worked in the Portsmouth Health District, and I was posted in the Marigot Health District, who were a pair of broke young doctors. I've been paid off my husband's student loan before savings before we left Jamaica. We had no TV, we had no car, as observed and communicated to us by some passers-by in Portsmouth. My husband used to remark, "His lawyer people so fast." I was later assigned to work in the Department of Surgery at the PMH. I refused to work on call after 4 p.m. because junior doctors were not paid for being on call. This was subsequently addressed in the Ministry of Health, and doctors started getting paid for on-call services for the first time. I knew my rights, having just returned from Jamaica, where the doctors were engaged in an industrial action with the Siaga government. The doctors prevailed despite threats to imprison the leaders of the strike. In 1989, when I returned from maternity leave after the birth of our third son, Mario, I was assigned to work in the eye clinic with Dr. Roland Michaud, a Canadian ophthalmologist who established the eye clinic funded by the Brenda Stratford Foundation. I worked with her for 3 months before she went on vacation, only to return with a diagnosis of a terminal illness. I provided eye care services, with the help of the nurses and the regional ophthalmologists. I consulted until another ophthalmologist was contracted 2 years later. By then, I was in love with ophthalmology. Khalil Gilbrand said, "I now see love not as something I can choose, but rather something that chooses me." So I studied applied universities to pursue my specialist ophthalmology training. Lo and behold, I became pregnant with our fourth child, our only daughter, Jessica. The senior doctor referred to me as a baby-making doctor. My dear husband, who was also applying to pursue postgraduate studies, decided to remain in Dominica to look after the 4 children with our daughter, and not yet a year old. I was not there for her first birthday, partly but I joined the birthday party, but I joined on the phone to sing happy birthday to her. Tears washed down my face as I did so. Leaving my family behind was the greatest sacrifice I have ever made. So during my interview for a position to pursue ophthalmology, after many questions I was asked, why was I willing to leave my young children to come to Canada to study? I replied that I am coming from a small country which was looking to train one of its own to provide eye care to its people. Expatriate specialists come to work for short periods. This was not amenable to developing a robust eye service. I then quoted an old saying attributed to Confucius: "Give a man a fish, and he will feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, and you have fed him for a lifetime." I was asked no more questions. I was accepted into the program. In 1992-1996, I successfully pursued my ophthalmology training at the University of Ottawa Eye Institute in Canada. The first Black African descent, first female foreign medical graduate, the 5th woman to be trained in ophthalmology at that institute. I am a fellow of the Royal College of Surgeons of Canada. As a Black female surgeon, I have received respect, admiration, and support everywhere. I also encountered discrimination as a black woman, but I never lodged a complaint of discrimination. That is not to say I never reacted. I have no control over the color of my skin or my DNA, gender, by which I was judged. But more important and significant is that I have control over the development of my character and who I choose to become. My passion to be an eye surgeon became my reality. So on my return in 1996, I was the only ophthalmologist eye surgeon in Dominica for over 2 decades. I was trained in first world country with the top of the line equipment and support staff, and so I quickly realized that I needed more resources. I had to think outside of the box. I decided to shift some of my tasks to other categories of workers. Arrangements were made for the eye nurse to pursue training as an ophthalmic technician in Ottawa. She was the first certified ophthalmic technician in the region. Her return doubled the number of patients seen in the clinic. I was ridiculed by colleagues in the Caribbean for allowing nurses to do some of my tasks and allowed to handle ophthalmic equipment. Now they are employing task shifting and training their staff in various eye care skills using the same ophthalmic equipment. I believe in empowering staff who work with me for training and mentorship. A rehabilitation officer for the blind was trained by the Caribbean Council of the Blind in Antigua. Unfortunately, she never got employed in the public service, despite the fact that she was a budgetary post from a social welfare officer for the blind. Together with the senior operating room staff, we conducted training for operating room nurses to assist at microsurgical eye operations. This training included nurses locally and from Jamaica, St. Lucia, and Guyana. My legacy and greatest satisfaction is that any ophthalmologist can step into the eye clinic and will be greeted by a staff who manages the clinic seamlessly. The staff will see eye care for patients, whether I'm in a taxi in India or in Buckingham Palace. Long before telemedicine became a buzzword as it is now, we in the eye clinic were practicing telemedicine. The disadvantage to me was the high cost of my cell phone bills on my return from overseas. The eye patients I treat are from the cradle, some of them prematurely birth weight less than 2 pounds to the eldest centenarian. I am Dominica's participation in the WHO IAPB initiative to eliminate preventable blindness by the year 2020. Vision 2020, the right to sight, universal eye health was delivered through our primary healthcare services, ensuring that it was available, accessible, affordable, accountable, and acceptable to our people, the 5 A's. In 1997, corneal grafts were harvested locally and transplanted into one eye each of 2 patients in an attempt to restore vision to an eye of a man with a severe corneal infection and a young mother blind from Achilles burns. This was the first and only organ transplant to date in Dominica. In 1997, I was named Personality of the Year by the Tropical Star newspaper. In 2000, the seed for an eye care clinic was sold by an eye patient complaining about the clinic having no toilet facilities. I listened to him and started working on a solution to construct an eye clinic with the promise of financial backing from the Brenda Stratford Foundation. Over time, examination of patients, mostly during the district eye clinics, I observed that people from the southeastern coast of the island were affected by a retinal disorder causing blindness. I sought help from my Canadian colleagues who traveled to Dominica to examine the affected persons and their families. We concluded that it was a hereditary condition and named it Lapland retinal degeneration. I have since found out that persons in Martinique have a similar eye disorder. Dr. Lennox Onich provided the historical context. But there are no roads from the east to Roseau, and the villagers travel instead by boats to and from Martinique. Hence the reason for the French surnames in these communities. The ancestors were traced to the south of France. I have also collaborated with a world-renowned glaucoma specialist from the University of West Virginia as a co-investigator in the use of SLT, laser treatment for glaucoma in patients of African descent. We have realized a successful outcome. So elective appointments were 1 year at the earliest for patients had to be seen. I was concerned about diabetics waiting that long. Their eye disease would be much worse by the time they were seen. So my solution, in 2005, I developed a screening program whereby a photographer was trained to use a special camera to take photos of the retina, which is the lining inside the eyeball. I then revived thousands of those developed photos in order to identify the diabetics with retinopathy. The diabetics found to have retinopathy were brought in earlier to have their eye examined by the ophthalmologist and to have laser treatment if indicated. Paho subsequently bought us a digital camera. By then, second nurse was sent to Ottawa for training to take over the diabetic retinopathy funders photography screening program. She performed so well in the studies that additional funds were sourced to have her trained in ophthalmological technician. I was invited to meet Her Majesty the Queen at a reception held at Buckingham Palace to thank us for contributing to her legacy. I lobbied for almost 15 years before I succeeded in getting the drug committee to provide all the glaucoma medications free of charge to patients 18 years younger and 60 and older. The patients are most grateful to the government. Public education and advocacy are some of the tools that I enjoy to advance my mission to prevent blindness. Prime Minister Roosevelt carried a committee to fund a school vision program to provide specialist spectacles free of charge. This was developed and piloted. That was sometime in 2005. This was developed and piloted by a Dominican team under my leadership. In 2017, the program was implemented by a Cuban Dominican team and coordinated by Mrs. Joan Henry. The program was optimized to include screening of the body mass index of all 12,000 school children aged 5 to 18. The BMI data was important to collect as we have no data on the prevalence of obesity in that group. This helped to identify the overweight and obese children. Programs for these children will help prevent chronic communicable diseases as they grow older, especially diabetes, the leading cause of preventable blindness in our working population. I was one of the doctors who initiated DMA collaboration with UWI Open Campus to present the Dr. Bernard Serendo Annual Memorial Lecture. Planning social events for the doctors was my pleasure to enable colleagues and the families to have fun. But one of my most cherished collaborations was being a pioneer of the A-level exams support group aimed at preventing students for university, aimed at preparing students for university rather. It spoke to my passion for education. I still provide support as necessary. But recently I raised funds for lab supplies. However, our family will tell you that our 2-hour Sunday morning breakfast was a hallmark of our family quality time spent together. I've had my fair share of tragedies and loss along my many triumphs and happiness. But in January 2017, a near-fatal motorcycle accident left our son physically disabled, bilateral knee amputation. The night of the accident, I broke down in the operating theater and asked my daughter to take me home. But all of these stories there, I think I'm going to let Dr. Hazel tell you some of those in her own words, because I know that Pastor Randy Rodney will be interacting with us shortly. I want to say now, as a mother, she said, I am proud of my children for the love and for the respect they have had for their dad. He made sacrifices for them. He was a hands-on dad. He supported my professional and personal development. A poem from Khalil sums up the relationship, all right? But here's what I want to jump to, because in the interest of time, there's so much we have to learn about Dr. Ricketts. I'm going to leave some of that for her to tell you in her own words. But she says, despite having reached the age of retirement, my passion for eye care remains unwavering. As I continued working to enhance eye care, including the opening of the new well-equipped Brenda Stratford Eye Center at the Dominica China Friendship Hospital. This was my brainchild from 2000, and my design with input from the PMH staff and from colleagues in Canada. The plan was drawn by architects from the Communication and Work Ministry. The Chinese construction team delivered to our expectations. I am sure that you have heard enough to convince you that Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts truly deserves to be honored as a Dominican hero. But in addition to her valuable transformational lifeline works and her accomplishments, Dr. Ricketts continues to bring out the best in others to work hard, to be true to their profession, to reach out to excellence and be dedicated to being the very best that they can be in whatever they do. So I just want to say your kudos indeed to Dr. Ricketts and her family. She's a truly a Dominican hero for instilling a positive mental attitude that elevated and influenced the content of the medical dialogue on so many fronts for over 40 years. For being a great Dominican who demonstrated that each of us, ordinary people, can do extraordinary things in whatever we set our minds to do. So invite you, our cherished Q95 listeners, in every nook and cranny, in every community at home, in the region and globally. Please join us in appreciating, in embracing, and celebrating, recognizing, awarding, and extending kudos to our 16th Dominican hero, Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts. And please rest assured, Dr. Ricketts, that you'll remain respected, highly respected, admired, and cherished by all Dominicans abroad, all Dominicans here at home in our little nature island of the Caribbean. Why? For your exemplary performance in transcending self-interest, for going well over and beyond the call of duty and above and beyond normal demands and expectations of your profession, for commanding respect in society, for being a truly resilient pioneer in your work and occupation, for your unique, indefatigable work ethic, your innovation, achievements, and tenacity in the face of all of the challenges you surely encountered and endured in your lifetime, for your unparalleled, impactful leadership par excellence, your highly productive community development, your collaborations and partnerships, and for your dedicated commitment to the development of your country. For these and many more reasons, the Q95 Kudos to Our Heroes Committee recognizes, appreciates, embraces, and awards you, Dr. Hazel Maria Shillingford Ricketts, as a champion, and we bestow upon you the very deserved and indeed earned esteemed title of a true Dominican national hero. So we all say kudos to our 16th Dominican hero, Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts, your distinguished deceased husband, your children and your grandchildren who stood steadfastly beside you through thick and thin. So what I want to say here in closing, Pastor Rodney, that on behalf of our Kudos to Heroes Committee, on behalf of every Dominican at home and abroad, thank you so much, Dr. Hazel Maria Shillingford Ricketts, for all that you have done and all that you are still doing. We wish you Godspeed. We look forward to continuing to inspire us for many more years to come. Thank you, and may the good Lord bless your entire family very richly. I yield back to you now, Pastor Rodney.
Thank you, Mr. G. Thank you for sharing all of that information with us. And like I said earlier on, there is so much we can talk about when we talk about Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts that we will probably be here until 5 a.m. tomorrow morning and have say we now right from here. But I want to do this. I want to get back to Hazel, the woman, and I'm sure, like I said, a little bit later, Dr. Simon will share with us at least some of the people who we have online. But I've noticed that there are quite a few people sharing some thoughts about her, Brenda Aline and Marilyn Pascal and Veronica Pascal and people like that, sharing how respectful they are of you and the work you've done. And I like particularly Mrs. Aline's comment. Yeah, when she said that I have great admiration for Dr. Shillingford Ricketts. She's a great example for all women, a woman of grace and accomplishment, of great expertise and stature in her profession. I think that was well coined by Brenda. But I'm coming to this champion sitting down next to Hazel. I'm sure they're hearing some things tonight that they're not unfamiliar with, but they will tell us from their perspective as sons. One of the things that we know is that, great people usually have great family. And their family structure is very tough, very, very, very well put together. Uh, but I'm a Bible person, so I believe in Bible. You know, people, your best is always seen in your immediate surroundings first. So let us know something about that, Peter. Peter is your name, right?
Yes.
Good, good, good. Let's know something. Tell us something briefly about this woman we're talking about there, Hazel Shillingford Ricketts, your mother.
I mean, good evening to all the listeners. I mean, what I can say is this: what everyone may be hearing for the first time this evening, and others hearing it echoed multiple times. For us, this is our mother, and the hero that you are, the picture of the hero that's being painted this evening is a picture we've been staring at our entire lives. The perspective changed from being a young man, young boy, I would say, growing up, questioning, where's mom? She traveling, she's studying, when we're not around. She's not been around at that time. And so, it's only after you grow up, you realize, well, I don't know if you have any persons that watch any of these animes and Dragon Ball Z, but, she was out on planet Namek training to become the hero that she is today. And so when as you heard my brother say, when the pager goes off or the phone goes off in the wee hours of the morning, or even if we're sitting down at table and she has to get up and leave, now we can appreciate that she's out there saving lives and impacting, other families, not just our own. And then even when I really appreciated her strength the most was the story of my brother losing his legs. I remember that day I brought the news to her, and I saw the look of despair taking over her. And then I just saw the cape come out. And she started to make phone calls because the accident happened in Portsmouth, and put together, make sure the hospital was prepped for him. And when he got down, she was there. And yes, she did break down after he was on the table, right? And to me, that's what a hero does. They put their emotions aside and ensure that they deliver that support that will impact another person selflessly. In this case, it was her son, but I know of other situations where, she's been an eye surgeon, but I think she saved her life once, or with this guy that they said had this terminal brain infection and there was no neurosurgeon, and she said, no, Dr. Paul can do this, and called him up, and then they operated on him, and I believe his life was saved.
Actually, I heard that story from Dr. Paul.
Yeah, you heard that from Dr. Paul, right?
Yes.
So this is I'm grateful that her story is being told this evening, and I'm thankful for everyone who has submitted their stories so that everybody can now understand why she is our hero. Our entire lives.
Good, good. So these people are not making up anything.
Absolutely
what you're
not.
Hearing. Okay.
No.
All right. Let's hear you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mario, third son, and my little 2 cents from my experience of experiencing my mother as a child, as of course we grew up witnessing work, hard work, consistent hard work, to the point where none of us ever wanted to be surgeons, because she was consistently, selflessly waking up at midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock, and gone without a fuss, no hesitation. As a child, really,
where's she going?
Where's she going? What? I mean, the mother, it's your mom. How many people grew up with their mothers and have fond memories where our mother was always working? So that's the other side of the coin that people don't really see when she's out there always working, the absence of a mother in a family. So there's that regard. However, at home, she was always a blessing of a mother. She was always soft, kind, a friend. I used to call my mother my best friend growing up. And it was so interesting to become an adult and come back to Dominica after studying. Even in Bascom Palmer, when I would visit, because when I studied, my campus is actually close to there. They would actually know her name. And for those who don't know, Bascom Palmer is one of the most well-recognized institutes in the world. So coming back to Dominica, knowing my mother being a soft, loving woman at home, would experience people and I say, boy, this woman, Dr. Hazel, she's so tough. She's an iron woman.
Who are they talking about?
Who's this person they talking about? So much so it was last week, I was talking to a gentleman I became new friends with. And he was expressing to me that he was playing some music in town. And this woman came out from her office, dog, cussing him up. She cannot hear patients. She's trying to do her work. She have elderly people speaking to. So he's like, this is the first time any human has shown any sort of startliness to him. So, and it was the vice versa at home for our father. Our father was a very tough gentleman, but in outside he was very soft. So we had the best of both in tough love.
Wow.
That our mom was loving and soft, and our dad was loving but tough. So I think the union of them created the perfect atmosphere of tough love, which generated the environment or atmosphere in who we are as a children today. So as children, yes, we can see that.
It's amazing that you say that, by your father and I would have longer conversations than Hazel and I know Hazel much longer than I knew him. So I understand that softness, we would just talk forever when we meet, but when Hazel and I meet, it's the conversations are shorter for some reason. We always go back, but we always have a shorter conversation. Larissa, I think, is still on the line with us. Are you still there, Larissa? Would you unmute your microphone and tell us a little bit about that, the Hazel that we're talking about? Oh, yes.
Hi, good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening, Pastor Randy, and good evening to our special guest, Woman of Honor tonight, and good evening to everybody else joining here. I am her daughter-in-law, and I have known her for over 12 years. The moment I walked in that house, I was nervous, but she received me as her own. And I am blessed to say that she's not mother-in-law, she's mom. That's what I call her. She is a problem solver. She is a fashionista. She's a boss in the kitchen. She has assisted me so much in the raising of my children. And similarly to her daughter, I had a really amazing experience while having my first. I had a C-section, and no one was allowed in the operating theater, not even my husband. And so she was working at the hospital at that time, but she was not on call. So she decided scrubs were going on and she was entering into that operating theater. And while I'm laying there like a piece of meat on a cold, sterile bed, she comes and I feel that warm hand hold me and hold my hand. And for me, it's these moments that make you connect on a deeper level. And at that moment, I knew that I had support and I felt her love. And I feel that every day from her. Everything that has been said here tonight, it is just an iota of who she is. We have spoken everything about her professional life, but she is a giving, generous, very loving, very patient woman. She is patient with her granddaughters. She teaches them. So, like, I don't know. It's amazing to see her blossom as a grandmother, even. And she's blessed. She is blessed because of her heart. She comes home sometimes and she goes on a rant. But the rant is never for herself. It is always for the well-being of others. And it is always for the better of the nation, for the hospital care, for the healthcare system. She's passionate about improving the quality of lives, and her big heart is what makes her amazing. So, Mom, I love you. I honor you. God bless you and increase you. And I am proud to call you my mother in law. Good night.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. Good to
Pastor
hear that.
Roddy, Pastor Roddy, let me just another shout out to Lyris. Thank you for those remarks. Congratulations. It tells a lot when a daughter-in-law speaks about her mother-in-law that way. Thank you, Lyris.
You're welcome.
Beautiful. Very appreciative of the person that we're looking at. One person said to me some time ago that this imposing woman, and they were referring to you. And I had to say, well, you know, she took that imposing structure from her father, I believe. um, let's take a few of the people who know. Oh no, Lucy is here. Let's hear from Lucy first, and then we will get into a lot of the professional people in their capacity, in their professions. Lucy, let's hear you.
Good evening, everyone. It is truly a special honor for me to be here in honor of my first mom. Before the big family, I was one of the first to have experienced the love, the kindness, the strength, the beauty, the fashionista that is, and the brilliance that is Dr. Hazel Maria Shillingford Ricketts. Because at probably between age 2 or 4, my mom passed on, and before she passed on, she asked Dr. Shillingford Ricketts' mother to take me on, to take care of me because I was her last child. So before she passed, she asked that if they could take me on. And they agreed, or her mom agreed, with the condition that Auntie Hazel, as I call her, would be the person who takes care of me. So essentially, I was her daughter before she had her own daughter and her own sons. And what I know of this amazing woman is her kindness. What I remember most deeply is her kindness, her gentle way. I'm tearing up. Her gentle way of being, her, even in discipline, she was kind. Just her care, her deep sense of care for me, because, as an adopted kid, you always feel like you don't quite belong. But with her, I always knew that I belonged, and still to this day, I mean, I'm located all the way across the world, and she reached out to me to be here on this occasion, because we go way, way, way back, and I am honored and deeply in deep gratitude for her example as a woman. How far I have gone in my life is because I stand on her shoulders. She set such an amazing example for me. A lot of how I lead, the teams that I lead, is directly in the manner that she showed, I absorbed from watching her lead, that it was okay to be kind, to lead with kindness and firmness, that kindness exists even when you're in a difficult situation. What Peter mentioned about being able to put the emotion aside to face the challenge, that is something that I directly link to her because I observed it every day in her tenacity, in her discipline, in her reminder of me. It's like nobody owes you anything. We're going to take you, in my case, we promised your mom we'd take you to we'd educate you, we'd make sure you have your education, and the rest is up to you. And that has always been because they did everything. The foundation that I was given has taken me, not because I chose not to go to university, but my Dominican Foundation, led by Dr. Hazel Maria Shillingford Ricketts and Dr. Ricketts, her husband, and Auntie Jan, her sister, and before even that, Mom Isaline, is the reason why I have gone as far as I have gone and will continue to go further. And so for me, this tribute is very personal. I know of the everybody has spoken of the bigger accolades, but I am where I am because they chose to say yes and to keep their promise to my dying mother. And for that, I am forever grateful. And I honor you beyond measure. You have such a big place in my heart. I know I'm not in touch a lot, but you hold such a big place in my heart because every time I step outside, I know that it is you that I must reflect. So thank you. I honor you. This is so deserving for you. I'm so happy that you are here to receive it. I know that Uncle Paul, wherever he is smiling, knowing that you deserve this beyond measure. So deeply from me, it is a big thank you. And I'm happy that I have this platform to say to you, thank you for being a role model to me and then to the greater, the world to me. It's not just Dominica, it's the world. I love you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucy. And those are the kind of accolades that really come around to put icing on, the MDs and the PhDs and so on. Because outside of these great qualifications is a person.
And Pastor Rodney,
Human being, yes.
While you're on that, Pastor Rodney, a moment ago, Larry spoke with us, but I got a sense, and I hope that he's still with her. You're the fifth son of Dr. Ricketts, but she has a fourth son, and his name is Cedric. And I believe Cedric may be with Lyris at Dr. Hazel's house. I don't know if he's still there. If he's still there, you may want to hear from that fourth son, Pastor Rodney. So I don't know whether you can reach out to him. He's supposed to be with Lyris.
All right. I'm sure Lyris can let us know whether Cedric is there. And
yes. Sorry, he is here. He is coming right now.
He's coming right now. So we can hear some thoughts from him, and then we'll go across to Judith, Hazel's cousin. So let's hear some words from you, Cedric.
Hello, good night.
Yes, good night. How are you?
I'm fine. Hello, good night.
We're honoring Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts. What can you tell us about her in brief?
Yes, so well, I'm Cedric Joseph. Dr. Ricketts, Dr. Ricketts has been my boss, employer, my mom. I've known her since primary school. She used to actually take me to school when she used to take Jessica to school. I worked with her for the past 6 years. I started part-time, then I moved over to full-time because it was such a good place to work. I met so much people working with Doc. It was just a good fit. Basically, she's a loving, caring person. She doesn't go on a trip and ask me, what do I want, what she can bring back for me. She's just really sweet. To all her employees, she treats us like family. If anyone is sick, she's always the one to wants to know what's up. If she can buy us medicine, if she can, whatever she can do. She's always there. Also to her patients, so many of her patients have just met me and told me that she's the best. And I personally know that because I work with her. Yeah, she's just a really powerful woman. Also, she's not a person that you want to piss off or get upset. But other than that, she's loving, down to earth. She's really fun. I'm so happy that she's getting her flowers today. And thank you, Doc, for all that you do. We love you. Thank you again.
Well, thank you very much, Cedric. And that's what I'm talking about when I talk about the woman behind the profession. Judith, your thoughts. Judith Pestina, your thoughts on your cousin Hazel. If you unmute, you can speak with us. You have not unmuted yet. I can see that from where I sit. There should be a button. Right. Now you got it. No, you remute yourself. So unmute. Yes.
Is
Now
that
you
okay?
Yes, it is.
You can hear me now?
Loud and clear.
Okay, I was fearing that I wouldn't have had the chance to say something because, this technology is perhaps, I can't really understand it like so many dinosaurs like myself. Anyway, it's so good to have the opportunity tonight to say something on Hazel's achievements because, she's something you can't really put a cost or price to what she has done. And Pastor Rod, do you remember some time ago when we were saying goodbye to Reverend Fraser? I sang something which I think everybody liked. And I think I'm going to say the same thing for Hazel. You're simply the best, better than all the rest, right? So I know that you've had so many challenges in getting to where you are today. But I think those challenges have made you stronger and much more of a role model which women admire. And because today we seem to have lost so many role models, you stand out, you shine, you're in a class of your own, you're unique. And I know people try to make you doubt yourself, but the person I know you are, you can never do that because you've had such strong support you're bringing from both your parents and your father, who I knew so well, because he was my father giver at my wedding. And you remind me so much of him, your stature, not only physically, but mentally. And I'm sure a lot of people tell you how much you look like him. I think you look like him more than any of his other children. What would you say?
I agree.
Yes, and I think Hazel has blazed a trail for so many women who are beginning to, carve a career, not only in the area of eye care, but even in other areas, whether it's business, culture, sciences, just name it. You stand in a league of your own. And for that, we are so proud of you. And we are sure that you're going to even continue to do much more than you have done. And we congratulate you. And I also want to congratulate Q95 on mounting this program because not many people are bold and brave enough to recognize their own. Sometimes they say a prophet is without honor in his own country. But I think Q95, you're doing something which so many more of us should do and should welcome. And for that, I want to thank you. And I want to congratulate Hazel, her family, and everybody who's contributed to her success, because I know she will continue to excel because that's the kind of person she is. She sets high standards for herself. She has such a high standard of professionalism. And for that, we admire you and we wish you all the best. So congratulations again. And thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Judith. And I think you have captioned it very, very well. I mean, everybody is giving us a perspective of that, Hazel, that many people, I'm sure, are getting to know. And I think Corinne captured it very well when she spoke earlier on. People know about Dr. Hazel.
And
But that
Pastor
Dr.
Rodney,
Hazel
Pastor Rodney,
is not just Dr. Hazel.
Pastor
I didn't know
Rodney,
that she was
Pastor,
doing. She
can
was. I got to know that.
Pastor Rodney, can I ask
even,
you,
even I
as
got to know some things about Hazel. All right.
Pastor
Let's
Rodney,
take some of the people in the profession who
one
still with
second,
Hazel
Pastor
and
Rodney.
some of the
Can I
thoughts
ask you to
that
ask
they
Judith to
will
turn off
share
her
about
mic?
her. We'll pause and do that.
Your mic, please.
And we will come back. And later on, we will take some of the champions, I guess, in the professional relationship that they've had with Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts. Please give a listen.
Pastor Rodney, I was saying we should ask Judith to turn off her mic.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Moranci Brooks. Thank you for the opportunity to participate in honoring Dr. Shillingford Ricketts for her work in ophthalmology in Dominica and the rest of the Caribbean. I remember meeting her for the first time. She had that presence about her that said, "I'm here and ready to take charge of business." Contrary to that first impression, she was quite gentle and aware of the task at hand. Our schedule was always full in the eye clinic and district clinics. Every Thursday, we went to a different district clinic in that white van donated by the Brenda Stratford Foundation. The days were long. She never complained. I had the opportunity to work with her both in the hospital setting and private practice. Dr. Shillingford is an excellent physician and teacher. She was also instrumental in making it possible for myself and others to attend the University of Ottawa Eye Institute, the very same university she attended. The staff spoke very highly of her. It speaks of the type of person that she is. I'm grateful for all that she has done in the field of medicine in Dominica. For me personally, both as a mentor and a friend, she is a true hero.
Greetings to everyone listening to this broadcast in Dominica and beyond. My name is Kevin Melanson, and I'm the Chief Social Impact Officer for the Brenda Stratford Foundation. In my role, I support and oversee our foundation's activities in Dominica. I'm honored to provide kudos to Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts for her service to the people of Dominica. For those of you who may not know, the Brenda Stratford Foundation is a registered Canadian charity established in 1975 by Dr. Barry Stratford in memory of his late wife, Brenda, who tragically passed away in a car accident. The organization was founded out of compassion, under the guiding principle to cater to humanity, creating a legacy in Brenda's name that would perpetuate her desire to give back to the community in a meaningful way. Today, our work is guided by our philosophy, the preservation of dignity, and the pursuit of happiness. Our activities include aging care and senior living and community supports in Canada, research and innovation, and healthcare in the Caribbean, including activities in Haiti, Jamaica, and Dominica. When the Brenda Stratford Foundation first became involved in Dominica in 1985, there were no permanent ophthalmologists on the island. Dr. Shillingford Ricketts set out to change this narrative by pursuing her ophthalmology training in Canada, aided by financial support from the Brenda Stratford Foundation. With this support, she committed to returning to and serving the people of Dominica. And that she did, becoming Dominica's first full-time ophthalmologist. Since that time, she has served as an advocate for eye health for the people of Dominica, including serving for decades as the liaison for the Brenda Stratford Foundation's work in Dominica. Today, there are 5 ophthalmologists living and working in Dominica full-time. This creates a coverage ratio of approximately 1 ophthalmologist per 15,000 people. This represents one of the highest coverage ratios of ophthalmologists in the Caribbean and is higher than the ratio in Canada. This is something that Dr. Shillingford Ricketts and the country of Dominica should be very proud. In 2019, Dr. Shillingford Ricketts was acknowledged by Queen Elizabeth Diamond Jubilee Trust in recognition of her leadership to establish robust and sustainable programs for diabetic retinopathy in the Caribbean. Most recently, the impact of her work can be seen in the newly established Brenda Stratford Foundation Eye Center in Roseau. Dr. Shillingford Ricketts was instrumental in ensuring this new center was built. She also guided the Brenda Stratford Foundation in our work to provide the appropriate equipment needed to make the center a world-class medical facility. The Brenda Stratford Foundation congratulates Dr. Shillingford Ricketts for her many years of service to the people of Dominica and the Brenda Stratford Foundation. Dr. Shillingford Ricketts, thank you for your dedication to helping people in Dominica preserve their dignity and pursue happiness through your significant accomplishments in advancing eye and vision care. Congratulations.
The first time I met Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts was at the eye clinic in 2013. The first impression that I had of her was of that on that fateful day. And she left a lasting impression on me. Something that I remember up to this day, the way she set up her teaching tube. And she told me, come this, let me show you, let me teach you something. And I stayed that entire clinic in her office, learning new things, seeing how she interacts with her patients, seeing how she has that passion and that love for her job. And I can tell somebody that this is somebody who is very passionate about what she does and is not just in it for anything else but the love of her patients. And today I am happy that she's been recognized because she has been there for me. And not only me, but my home circle, my immediate family, and my extended family. She has been a strong support system to us. She has been there for us physically. She has been there for us emotionally when I just need somebody to cry, with somebody to talk to, no matter what the hour, no matter what the time of day. She is there to listen. She is there to help. She has been there for us spiritually to encourage you to continue to walk with Christ and don't give up on God and pray together. Even I've been there for my husband and I in telling us that the best thing to do is to pray together as a couple and go to church together, worship God together. She has been there physically. And I know to myself that she's somebody that I can always call on whenever I need that source of strength, whenever I need that help. She has been there on a professional level for me, paving a way so that I could further my studies in eye health and eye care. In 2018, I was able to do a program in diabetic retinopathy, becoming a certified screener grader. And she was the person who realized that I had that ambition and the ability to further my studies. And she pushed so that it could have been done. So for that, I am eternally grateful and thankful for somebody like her. And I'm thankful for that day in 2013 that I met her, that she took me under her wings, that she didn't shun me, but she embraced the fact that, hey, this is a new nurse and I'm going to help her. And our relationship over the years has grown into something magnificent. So tonight, I want you to big yourself up because you are getting the recognition you deserve. I pray one day that it will be on a greater magnitude, but nothing ever happens before God time. And this evening, all the flowers that you are receiving, receive it with an open heart. Much love to you from my family and I.
They say that well-behaved women seldom make history. And if you know anything about Dr. Hazel Maria Shillingford Ricketts, you know that well-behaved has never been a part of her vocabulary. My mother was born to be disruptive, a mover, a shaker. And today, she can be rightfully recognized for the positive impact she has had and continues to have in all facets of life. She is an ordinary citizen with extraordinary vision and drive. She is a great Dominican woman, a Dominican hero who deserves this recognition and serves as an inspiration for all women for generations to come.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are honoring Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts on Q95 this evening. It's the 16th hero honored by the kudos for Q.
For the upright and honest.
Many of you who are messaging me and requesting that you want to get your voice in, I'm going to open the lines for you in about 10-15 minutes so you can share some thoughts with us. We have a few more tributes coming your way, though, from some of Hazel's colleagues.
seems to reward.
medical field and the academic field as well.
Good must outdo that too.
Tonight we looked at Hazel, the mother, Hazel, the family person, the other aspects of Hazel that people don't know at all. The Hazel who came from nowhere to where she is now. And we're learning quite a few lessons, my friends, my brothers and sisters, that life, that which you have, you can utilize to grow to a place where you can't even begin to imagine now.
Citizens' government did not honor.
Maybe some of you need to talk to Hazel about where you are.
And where
And she can help you, in deciding how to take curtains to make clothes.
we say the people of the air ask me to deliver this bouquet. Flowers to you, sir, before you go.
All right, let's take a few more of these tributes. The first there is Dr. Irvin Pascal, followed by Dr. Francis Severin and Dr. Ronnie Bola and Dr. Ivan Kasson. And the final doctor we have here is Kovadonga Boskaran. Listen, please, because I listen to some of those, like I tell you, and they provide quite some enlightenment about Hazel. Marilyn, I understand your thoughts. Marilyn had a secret tonight. Hazel. I'll probably ask you about it a little later. You know the nickname. You remember the nickname? You don't remember the nickname that you were called at school? But let's go on and let's take some tributes first from Dr. Irvin Pascal, and we'll get the rest of them as we go along tonight. Give a listen.
Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts, who I simply call Hazel, has been a friend and colleague from my days at the sixth form college. Her striking physical presence has always been complemented with a commitment to the task at hand and the pursuit of excellence in whatever endeavor she undertakes. Whether it's friendship, family, women's rights, her medical practice as an ophthalmologist, or her resistance to tyranny and injustice. It is remarkable how she has remained consistent in these areas over all these years. Her many achievements speak for themselves, but what I think is often overlooked is the divine humility that has accompanied these many and significant achievements. In essence, Hazel meets my criteria of a good and decent human being, and who, despite our differences on many things that I am proud and fortunate to have had as a friend and colleague for the last 48 years. I wish her well. I endorse this accolade, and may the spirits of her ancestors be pleased.
I have the exceptional and unusual pleasure of publicly ruminating on my experiences with Dr. Hazel Maria Shillingford Ricketts in support of the recognition of her national contribution by the Q95 Kudos to Our Heroes Committee as their 16th Dominican national hero. Let me at the outset commend this committee for undertaking such an excellent and fitting initiative. I have often pondered that recognizing good people, let us say good folks, is not something we excel at in the Commonwealth of Dominica. When it is done, I sometimes wonder about its authenticity, as the circumstances, certainly from where I sit, do not always seem to support an objective and real honor or award, unfettered, unbound, and unencumbered by political and socio-economic constraints. Dr. Shillingford Ricketts, however, is a statistical outlier in that regard. She deservedly enjoys goodwill and amity from a wide cross-section of Dominicans at home and abroad, as well as non-Dominicans around the region, and I dare say the world. I'm not going to speak to her academic credentials or professional accomplishments, as I believe these are renowned, and indeed, being a layperson vis-a-vis the medical field, I am more comfortable in deferring such considerations to those who are competent in these matters. Besides, I know for sure that Dr. Shillingford Ricketts studied at the best medical school in the world, the University of the West Indies at Mona. That is good enough for me. I am sure she would share with you other reasons why the UE Mona, my alma mater as well, holds so many fond and nostalgic memories. This is a good year to honor her, the same year that the UWI, which she is so proud of, and which started with the Faculty of Medicine, celebrates our 75th anniversary, our Diamond Jubilee year. For me, what distinguishes this remarkable lady is her public spiritedness, which is a far stronger force than any fear or anxiety she may hold in being an authentic Dominican who places country and people first before any personal motive or self-aggrandizement, and who dares to be true to self and say exactly what is on her mind. Dr. Shillingford Ricketts wants to serve her country, and that is the basic, incontrovertible, and irreducible fact. Her lesson to all of us, but especially women of all walks of life and age cohorts, is that we can all do our little bit where we are planted to enhance the lives of our fellow human beings, especially in our country. She's selfless. She's highly qualified and experienced, so she would be welcome with open hands anywhere else in the world or the Caribbean, and very likely be far more highly rewarded than she is at home in Dominica. Let me be very pellucid and unequivocal about that. So, for her, all this is not about Hazel. Rather, it is about the well-being of Dominica and Dominicans. Lest we forget, Dr. Shillingford Ricketts did not fall from the sky as an ophthalmologist. Hence, all those who claim to come from humble backgrounds, be very careful not to pretend to teach her what poverty is. She was poor too, but worked persistently hard rather than await someone to rescue her. Yes, she lived for a while in a house without electricity and water, and that would have shaped her public spirit and philosophy of service and caring. Her mother experienced political victimization, but taught her to be strong and brave in spite of these trials. Poverty does different things to different people, and mercifully, it made Hazel Maria a caring, honest, humble, selfless, and ethical person. It turns others into material-grabbing demons who try to make up for lost time and money. I thank her as a proud UE graduate for the support she gave me while I was head of the UE site in Dominica. Many of you may not know, but she sponsored several distinguished and memorial lectures which were aimed at public education, including the Dr. Bernard A. Serendo Memorial Lecture. We are indebted to her, and in fact, her contributions to health and wellness, as well as political, socio-economic consciousness in Dominica, is invaluable. No wonder we cannot repay and may never be able to repay her. At least we can show our gratitude. Well done, Dr. Hazel Maria Shillingford Ricketts. Rest assured that those of us who know better fully appreciate that had you decided to, say, remain at the Department of Ophthalmology, University of Ottawa, Eye Institute, Ottawa, in Canada, or even do private practice in Jamaica, with a far more diverse and larger population than we have in Dominica, no comparison whatsoever, your financial rewards would have been exponentially more. But your heart and soul were in elevating health and wellness in your country of birth. I am privileged to call you friend and fellow Dominican and fellow UE graduate. Dr. Hazel Maria Shillingford Ricketts has added a lot more value to the Commonwealth of Dominica than several others combined, and she has done so without seeking personal gain or favors.
My first interaction with Dr. Ricketts was at the Ophthalmological Society of the West Indies Conference many years ago. She was confident and had an air of royalty. She was well respected by all her colleagues. When she spoke, everyone listened. When I heard her speak, she commanded the room. When she attended the OSWI conference, she contributed to the development of eye professionals and ophthalmology using the OSWI platform and voice. In the OSWI conference, as she spoke, it was evident that she was very patriotic, putting her country's needs ahead of hers and focusing on eye care needs in Dominica. She spoke with passion and confidence about Dominica's eye care needs and the development of other ophthalmologists to improve care in the region. I have always admired Dr. Ricketts for her talent and commitment to eye care in Dominica for almost 3 decades. In 2022, she called me to ask for a private partnership to reduce cataract surgery backlogs by performing phacoemulsification cataract surgery in Dominica. In just 1 year, she opened a brand new company, HMS Eye Center, and collaborated with the Trinidad Eye Hospital to deliver more than 100 cataract surgeries to patients who were waiting many years to have their surgery. Dr. Ricketts has an incredible work ethic with an ability to organize and coordinate like no other ophthalmologist I have ever worked with. She is a true patriot and an outstanding host in her country. She also openly displays her passion for educating young doctors who are aspiring in the field. On my last visit to Dominica, Dr. Ricketts invited training ophthalmologists to work with her and observe surgery. This was true to her nature, as she gained joy by them learning. She entertained us at her home and went to tremendous efforts for us to see the length and breadth of beautiful Dominica. Her commitment to patient care was on display when she received a call from the hospital to save a 25-week-old baby's sight. She launched into action, calling on all her available resources to deliver the sight-saving surgery for the baby. I could see this was the highlight of her year, as she was beaming as the sight-saving surgery was being delivered. It simply shows that her heart in ophthalmology is in the right place. It is my absolute pleasure to congratulate her on this milestone, and I am privileged to have the opportunity to publicly recognize her for her contribution to eye care in the Caribbean. She has shown great courage and strength. I'd like to extend heartfelt congratulations to Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts, who is a true trailblazer, who I am proud to say is not only a respected colleague, but a dear friend.
Hello, Dominica, from the frozen land called Canada. My name is Yvonne Casson, and I would like to share with you my tremendous respect and admiration for one of your own, Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts. I'll tell you why I see her as a hero in my own story and in the story of eye care in Dominica. I've known Dr. Shillingford Ricketts for 30 years. We met when I was a research scientist at the University of Ottawa Eye Institute, and she was doing her residency in ophthalmology there. We bonded over the fact we both had young families that we had to leave behind temporarily in our search for professional excellence. As she told me of her determination to return to Dominica to develop a team providing the best of eye care for her country, I had to admire her vision and her courage. I learned firsthand what an outstanding clinician she is when she diagnosed a difficult case of glaucoma in my own mother, and as a result probably saved her sight. That is when she became a hero to me. When Dr. Shillingford Ricketts returned to Dominica, we stayed in touch, working together to bring resources to your island. In combination with the Eye Institute and the Barry Strafford Foundation, she facilitated the training of ophthalmic technicians, obtained state-of-the-art equipment for diagnosis and treatment, organized nurses and doctors from the Eye Institute to do on-site training, all with the goal of providing Dominicans with world-class eye care. When I visited her in Dominica, traveled with her to clinics in the country, saw her efforts to improve the clinical and surgical facilities, watched her working with patients, I can only say that her efforts to build a vision of eye care excellence in Dominica seemed to me not only admirable, but heroic. The final part of the dream she shared with me those many years ago was a new eye clinic. I remember how we began planning it over 20 years ago, stretched out on the cool floor of an apartment in Goodwill, pencil and paper in hand, sketching clinic and operating rooms, diagnostic labs, and teaching facilities. Going from that dream to reality, she dealt with hurdle after hurdle. She never gave up. And today, I think it represents her courage, perseverance, and her commitment to the people of Dominica. Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts will always be a hero to me. And I hope that my story will help you see that she is a hero for Dominica as well. Thank you.
Over the last 10 years, through my work at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, I have had the opportunity to travel to many countries, working with colleagues to strengthen eye health services and prevent unnecessary blindness around the world. This work took me to Dominica for the first time in 2017, where I was lucky to start a fruitful and long-standing collaboration with Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts. It is rare in one's life to meet individuals of the caliber of Dr. Shillingford Ricketts. At a professional level, she has dedicated her life to improve the lives of all other people in Dominica. She has strived to do this with excellence, always working at the top of her game, continuing to learn, and offering the best services possible to everyone. For many years, she also did this bearing the huge responsibility of being the only ophthalmologist in the country. Dr. Shillingford Ricketts' capacity for work is outstanding, always moving forward with the next priority and persevering against the odds to fulfill her duties. She is admired and respected for her work well beyond the frontiers of Dominica, internationally by many, many colleagues. At a personal level, Hazel is an inspiration in life and work. She has continued to give to others through extreme personal crises. She motivates her friends and family to do their best. Above all, she was a loving and supportive wife to her late husband, Dr. Paul Ricketts, and is supporting and loving now to her children and grandchildren. As a friend, Hazel is funny, she's full of life, she's always interesting and very stimulating company. I am honored to be counted as one of her friends and colleagues, and I'm extremely pleased that Dominica is recognizing Hazel in this way. Congratulations, Hazel.
When does someone really become a good citizen? I'd like to know. Why when the ordinary man disagrees with the establishment, they call it treason? Why should they persecute a brother for seeking black power? Don't they know a blind man could see that this is blatant hypocrisy? The real traitors and them are all high in society. Yet the government protecting all of them and penalizing you and me and in a million different ways.
Well, I wanted you to know that the Hazel that we're talking about tonight, the Dr. Hazel, in our view, is a good citizen. You hear?
In excess profit paid a starvation salary.
Not just somebody around looking for the buck or the strings or whatever you call it. A real good citizen. Someone's on my telephone. Good evening. We're honoring Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening. How are you?
I'm all right.
All right.
Good evening to Anthony, Peter, Mario, and Jessica. But Mario, my boy. I'm not going to say who is speaking. I know Dr. Hazel Shillingford knows who is speaking.
And I know who's speaking.
My young sister. Boy, it's a long story, but I have to make it short. Plenty people want the line.
That's right.
I developed something some time ago. I used to work in hospital long, 29 years. I developed something while I was in the States because at that time, I don't know why I'd like the States like that, but to up and down, not to stay. While I was up there on holiday, I developed something in my eyes. And my sister and my cousin tell me, let them take me to. I say, nothing doing. I'm going back down where I have a doctor. This I mean, true, I cut my vacation short and I came down. I went straight to her clinic. Nobody introduced me to her. I just go and sit down there. That's why I love her and she loves me like that. But you calling me cousin, but she and I are cousin by family side.
Okay, cause.
Her brother married to my auntie, so we are cousin. Her brother Bonnie Pierre married to my auntie Christian Vidal. So see where it lies. And I love her children. And then that was it. I know she asked me to apologize to a foreign doctor some years ago because I said that doctor not touching my eye. And I did it because that is how much I believe in her. Now the other story, Shonik, my grandchild. She partly raised up Shonik as a child. Shonik is in the States now. This little boy, he would wait before he go to school, preschool, 3-4 years. And she said, but the doctor not coming, I'm going. When she stepped in the shoes alone, he would hear, yes, come, Brock. But remember, I have to go to school. And everybody in the room would fall down laughing. And that is a long story. They are mother and son all know so. Bye-bye. Congratulations to you, my daughter. Love you very much.
Thank you to you, my cousin. Thank you. Somebody else is on the telephone. Good evening. We are honoring Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts. Hello. I guess you change your mind on the telephone. You can do that call again. All right. We have opened the line so you could talk to us very briefly tonight.
A good citizen as a general mean that you have to come from the skies. But the value for honesty with integrity. Hold on, let me explain why. You have to honor your mother and respect your papa too. You have to love your brother.
Back on the telephone, good evening. We're honoring Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts. Hello.
Here, your sicky, your daughter. Your sicky, you and Janice in Fields Lane. Mommy used to have you on her shoulder as your child. That is Pamela. So I want to say all the best to you and your son. One of them, I don't know, the one that amputated is my friend too, he's combated too. So all the best, and Janice, I love all of you. We came from Eagle District to Fields Lane. God bless you, and no matter what happens, continue to pursue your dream. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
But it's only when the people die, they want to share their crocodiles.
Good evening on the telephone. We are honoring Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts.
Pastor Randy Rodney, good night to you. Good night to Dr. Hazel Ricketts. Good night to her children. Good night to all of the panelists. Good night to all of your listeners at home and abroad. I too want to join the many persons in saying congratulations and best wishes to Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts for service rendered to people and country. I pray God's blessing on her for good health, for long life, for peace, joy, and harmony. I myself am happy to know when people work, we give them their flowers before they're dead, because I believe in giving people their flowers while they're alive and not wait for when someone passed to say she or he was a good person. So, Dr. Ricketts, you have done a lot and you will still continue to do. You're a good hero. You're a humble servant. You're a people's person. Take a bow on that, and thank you so much for all what you have done for the Commonwealth of Dominica. I'm so proud of you. And your children, your family, your friends, your well-wishers, everybody proud of you. Congratulations and best wishes. And we thank you, 95, for recognizing persons who have served and still serving. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you to you as well.
Maurice Bishop, the Yanks couldn't stop. He too was a good citizen. So very.
Good evening. We are honoring Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts. Talk to us on the telephone.
Yes, good evening, Pastor Rodney. This is Alvin here. Just want to lend my voice to say congratulations to Hazel. Hazel and I grew up in Fields Lane, practically in the same house. And I'm so proud to see and to hear of her achievements. I remember those good old days, herself, myself, my brothers, Augustus, Janice and the crew, and Matisse and everybody. So Miss Pierre, so I'm so proud of her. I'm sure my grandmother, Mama, who she also called Mama, must be looking down on her tonight and showering love and blessings on her. So just want to send my love, my best wishes to you, Doc. As I said, like one of the callers, I know I continue as Hazel, and I'm sure she's okay with that. So have a pleasant evening. All the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Good evening. We're honoring Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts.
Hi. Good evening, Pastor Randy.
Yes, good evening.
My name is Stuart Paris.
Yes, sir.
I, too, would like to add my voice to this very grand recognition of a local hero and a lady who I have come to trust and respect with my eye care. I found her and made her my eye specialist many years ago, and sometime late in 2022 when I went to her to I thought I was going to have my glasses replaced. She said, I cannot prescribe glasses for you. You have cataract. You need surgery. Well, she gave me some options, but then I never had surgery in my life at my age. And the day of the surgery, I really was I must admit, very nervous about the whole thing. But I just really thank Dr. Ricketts for the way leading up to the surgery, the care she took to prepare me and to maybe psychologically and everything like that, because I had to do both my eyes. And I say, what? I I don't want to go into surgery with 2 eyes and come out without none of that. But when I got into the operating room that day and I saw the kind of people I was there, Dr. Ricketts was right there. I mean, I was so impressed, and I gained more respect for her than I ever had before. And the gentleman she brought in was an amazing person. And so,
so how many eyes did you came out with? If you went to, how many did you come out with?
well, the Friday I went in it too, and then I come out with 1.5. She tell me now I have to come back and do the other one on Sunday. So before I go into the surgery, my children in England say, Daddy, who going to do the surgery for you? I said, well, Dr. Ricketts are managing that, you know. So my biggest daughter in England said, Dr. Ricketts, I said, yes. She said, okay, well, you're in good hands. I'm not pregnant. I said, well, I don't know if she's going to do it, but she said she's bringing somebody from Trinidad. My daughter said, well, even though Dr. Ricketts is, but I have confidence, so I wish you the best. So anyway, I went back. My biggest problem was that Dr. Ricketts, when I left the operating room, Dr. Ricketts is telling me, I cannot sleep on my side. I have to sleep on my back for 3 weeks. I said, boy, I don't know, I will sleep on my back for 3 weeks. I go back to her, I say, you mean not to sleep on my back? She said, yes, you have to sleep on your back. And you have to refrain from all forms of exercise. So I say, what? But today I'm so very pleased. I'm so very thankful for that lady. I mean, when I go to her for eye care, I sit in her office. I have to remember it's in the doctor's office. I am, but she is just such a nice person. You sit in the office and you're not feeling that you're sitting in this high, big time. She relates to you in such a way that gives you confidence. I don't know what words I can use to thank Dr. Ricketts for her role in my eye care and eventual surgery in January. And I can nowadays my eye functions as good as when I didn't have cataracts. So I just want to let her know that I appreciate it very, very much. And my eye is working well. In fact, she told me to come back to her in 6 months, and up to now I have to go in. So I have to go back. Maybe go there.
You're bad. You know, Paris, you're a bad patient. And it's terrible said on air. Have a good night, okay? We're going to pause. We're going to go to Dr. Dion George, who's online with us, one of the members of the Kudos to Our Heroes Committee. And right afterwards, Dr. Simon Matthew, you need to tell us, what's happening. What movement are we seeing online as far as that's concerned? We'll come back and take a few more calls following that. Dr. Dion George, come talk to us.
Well, good evening to the Q listening family, and good evening to the honored guests tonight, Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts. Let me say thank you to the committee who have organized and chosen Dr. Ricketts. And let me say congratulations to you are in order. Let me also take the time to say thank you to the owner of QFM and the ingenuity for being so grassroots to recognize the people who sometimes are overlooked. And so I will be very short with just a few congratulatory words toward you and what I know about you, and to tell you that you are fully deserving. The first thing I will say is a scripture, just a very short scripture. What has Christ himself, Jesus Christ, said about medical doctors? And I can refer to Matthew chapter 9, verse 12. And I'm very sure Pastor Randy can correct me on that. But it says, if one is healthy, he does not need a doctor, but it's one who's sick who needs a doctor. And with that being said, Miss, I have two personal stories I would like to share with you that I think you may be able to remember. I heard earlier that part of your exemplary professionalism is that you worked with preemies. Preemies as in babies who were not fully developed. And I can submit to you that you have touched my life very personally. And I want to say thank you. And that is why even more you are deserving of this award. His name is Denzel Shillingford. He's the son of Trevor and Cindy George. Well, it's Trevor Shillingford, Cindy George. But he was a premier. I don't know if you remember. Or you remember, yeah. He was 6 weeks old. And they had to take him to Martinique. And even today, he wears some really thick glasses. And that's a boy I love very much. And it was Dr. Ricketts, Dr. Ricketts, Dr. Ricketts. And you had to transfer him to Martinique and so forth. And so I remember that very closely. And then the second one is my dear mom. I see how your sons are very close to you. And some people calls me a mama's boy. But you know, when your mama has done well to you, you show them love. And I think that's God's plan. And so I think your professionalism, and I heard other speakers spoke about you, those who called and gave a testimony of who you are, that you cook very well, etc., etc. And I think that you're a phenomenal person, that you have gone, according to Mr. Gregoire, way beyond the call of duty, very personable. And I'm very proud to say that you are from my West Coast area of Coolibistry. And I'll just slip in Salisbury there too. But I just want to say, without saying much, congratulations. I think it's well deserving. May God bless you and keep you and continue your journey. And that's all I will say for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dion George. Dr. Simone, let us hear what's happening from your perspective online.
Well, Pastor Rodney and everyone, we have a full house on Facebook and YouTube, a worldwide audience tuned in to congratulate Dr. Shillingford Ricketts. But before we get to the messages on Facebook, I think it was Corinne that mentioned, you know, we see Dr. Ricketts in tongue and most of us will recognize her. But I think what we're realizing from this program is many times we see the glory of our heroes, but we don't know their stories. So I think tonight we're seeing all the many lessons there is to be learned from Dr. Ricketts' story, from her hard work, from, you know, growing up with a single mom, from having diversity and not looking outwards, but turning inwards and figuring out, you know, what is the next step. Her mother could have given up when she lost her job, but instead she turned to being a seamstress, you know. So there's so many lessons to be learned from Dr. Ricketts' story, from, you know, the role of the village, the role that the village played in her life. And so, you know, we just want to continue to recognize her for all the great things that she has done. And, you know, let's go ahead and take a look at Facebook and YouTube. We have a lot of comments. And what I would say is we would like to encourage Dr. Ricketts, maybe one day you have a quiet Sunday, you can go through the comments and just see the accolades that have come in for you in terms of what everyone thinks about you. But we want to say good evening to everyone who joined us. My mom, Medina Senhouse, Owen Prosper, Julie Johnson, Gail Bruni, Viva Mamo, Derek Ra Peters, Anita Booley, Nixie Alfred, Tamara Karam, Andrew, and I think it was Dr. Sevre who said, the question that comes to mind is, how are we being Dr. Ricketts in our own area of the world, in our own corner of the world? How are we being that Dr. Ricketts, that person who is creating a positive impact today, and that positive impact will reverberate for the next generation? Because as we can see, who Dr. Ricketts is stems from the values that transcended from her mother's generation to her generation. So I think in our minds, we have to keep thinking, how can I be that role model that impacts the world today and will continue impacting the next generation? So let's take a couple of comments from the Facebook Live. We have Catherine George who says, good evening. Henrietta James is watching. Randy Alexander, thanks very much, doctor, for the assistance you gave to my daughter. We love you. Petro Labadie, congratulations. Magdalene says, congratulations. Dave Bertrand, who's up very late out there in the UK, he says, thanks, doctor, for the help and care you gave to my mom, Nurse Jessie, before she left us. So a lot of congratulations coming in. Douglas Ann, congratulations, Dr. Ricketts. Let's see who else we have with us. Carolyn Girodel, congratulations. Crispin Shillingford says the same. Glenda Richards says, that's my sister speaking. Hi, Corinne. So Corinne, your sister's here. Judith Cochran is here. Alvin Thomas, we heard you on the air, so you were able to share your congratulations. Veronica Pascal, congratulations, Dr. Hazel Ricketts. Up to this afternoon, I recommended that someone visit you for an eye problem. Ivinia Joseph, thank you for being here. Noreen Joseph, a name that we all know. Congratulations, Doc. My dad would be very proud of your achievements. Augustina says, congratulations. So a lot of congratulation remarks coming in. I think we already heard from Brenda Allen. So thank you for your support. Agatha Shillingford. Marilyn Pascal says, good evening to the panel who has chosen to select Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts as one of Dominica's heroes par excellence. I have been privileged to know Dr. Ricketts even before we were students at the convent high school. As Pastor Rodney indicated, Hazel has her paternal ancestral roots in the community of Coolibistry, where during our childhood she spent many weekends and extended vacations. Dr. Ricketts was popularly known by the alias Chocolat by her classmates, friends, and associates. So thank you for that. Owen Prosper, congratulations. Cedric says the same. Veronica Pascal, we are so proud of Dr. Ricketts. We will continue praying for you. Thanks to the Kudos Committee for honoring one of our phenomenal women in Dominica. Marceline Edwards, great to see you. She says, congratulations to the great Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts. David Joseph, congratulations goes out to Dr. Ricketts for all her accomplishments and for all her humanity. Let us continue to appreciate those among us who have contributed tremendously to our country and most importantly, to the lives of our people. So as we can see, we have endless comments coming in. Let's just take a couple more before we wind down. Stephanie Mentis is on YouTube, says, congratulations, Dr. Shillingford. This is very well deserved. I am grateful for you and your support in my journey as an eye care professional as well. Isaac Baptist, the continued beauty of my sight today is a result of the professionalism of Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts. Professional always. Rosie Felix is here, and she says, a well-deserved award to a champion, an exemplary woman. Dr. Hazel Maria Shillingford Ricketts, I salute you. Nicole Greaves, Peter Carbon, Jennifer Milton, Alvin Thomas again says, Dr. Ricketts can best be described as a good citizen, as the double L, Levi Low Black and the Mighty Sparrow would say in song. Yes, a good citizen. So too many comments to read, but let's just take a couple more. Beverly Blackman, so much I'm learning tonight regarding her work and her vision and commitment to our country and its people. Well done. David Langclose out there in Louisiana, great to see you. Thank you for being here. Herman Sharpless is here. I think that is Father Herman Sharpless. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay,
Yes, it
thank
is.
you. I'm right. He says, thanks, Dr. Shillingford, for your commitment, service, love, care, and wisdom to me and Dominica at large. You are good doctor. I truly trust you with my eye care, and thanks for reaffirming my trust and confidence in you. God bless you abundantly. Jessica Ricketts Esprit, apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Currently tuned in whilst on call at work. Julie Polido, great to see you. Maslin Edwards, we could be here all night, guys, but I'm going to wrap it up. Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts is indeed a great Dominican and deserving of all these beautiful accolades. She operated on my dad's eye, and his vision is still great at 96 years old. Thank you, Dr. Ricketts, for all you have done and touched. May God continue to bless you and your family. Congratulations. And I'm going to take one more, John Baptist Pear. Thanks to Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts. I want to thank you personally as I'm walking now without any metal in my right broken leg. I cannot thank you enough. May God bless you and your practice. From Kurt Pierce. So, guys, one more. Albert Vidal. Congratulations, Dr. Rickett. Well-deserved accolade. You are indeed a great woman and a blessing to our country. May God continue to bless you and your entire family. So I think Dr. Ricketts very well deserved. Again, I want to congratulate you as a national hero, as a role model. And I want to wish you continued strength and guidance as you continue with your work and your passion for Dominica. So with that, guys, I have to say good night, good evening. And again, it is always an honor to be a part of the Kudos to Our Heroes Committee. And again, thank you to Mr. Gregoire and the Q95 family for continuing our effort to celebrate those who continue to do good for Dominica. So have a good evening, and I will continue listening while I go to work.
Thank you, Simone. Good night.
Have a good night.
Thank you, Simone. Thank you. I'm going to take a few more calls. Good evening on the telephone. We're honoring Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts. Yes, good evening.
Okay, good evening. I wish to congratulate Dr. Ricketts, and may God bless her for all the good she has done and continue to do. This is from Veronica.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll begin to wind down in a couple of minutes' time.
I believe every man should judge himself to know if you have become unwell. Only then you consider yourself an ambassador. Say enough, give my services to her. Calypso Rose and Dr. Sparrow, they are good citizens. It's all right. Calypso genius, they are good citizens. They gave us their best, the very best. Oh, Mr. Allen and Billy Doctor. They are good citizens.
Well, that's why we're here tonight, honoring what we consider to be a good citizen. Let me, put the hats of all of you to rest, and I hope you're listening as well, my friend, Dr. Francis Severin. One of the things about what we do here is we don't look at, your color. What we look at is your work and the fact that you go beyond duty, beyond the call of duty. So really and truly, it's not because, I know Hazel or Mr. Gregoire knows somebody else. It's really because of the work that is done. Hence, what we do here on the Kudos to Our Heroes. The other thing about that is, ladies and gentlemen, we as you can see, we hear from other people. And everything they usually say about the heroes that we select are verifiable. We don't see something about them that people can't stand by. I love the fact that your sons could sit here tonight, listen to everybody speak, and they could say, yeah, that's a fact, that's true, and that's what it is. It's not about trying to color somebody because we link with them or because they link with us. It's really about honoring the heroes in our society who we believe we need to lift. And we lift them for them first, and we lift them for everybody else. because we believe, we are firmly in our firm in our conviction that every one of us can elevate to a place where God has called us. And so we're saying to every one of you that it doesn't matter where you came from. It really doesn't matter who your father was, who your grandmother was, or what place you come from. It doesn't matter how many rooms your house had when you leave, or whether you had electricity or not. You can make something out of yourself. And that's what these honorings are about, right, Mr. G? I'd like you to verify what I'm saying, you know.
Well, yes, let me verify what you're saying, Pastor Rodney. First of all, you remember there was a gentleman called Rosie Douglas.
Yes.
One of the things he said is that, he has watched many funerals, maybe some of conducted by Pastor Rodney as well. And he said he never saw a hearse pulling a house behind it.
No.
He never saw a hearse pulling a big bank account behind it. So because he said when you leave and you go, you can't take anything with you. If you have gold, you have diamonds, they're staying right there. They can't put they won't put any coffin for you.
Well, Mr. G, I've said to people when I speak at funerals, sometimes I tell them, if you want to bury the person with the money, I have a great advice. If they bring me the money, I will double the amount and I'll put a check in the coffin.
I know somebody who did that, they put a check in the coffin for them. But the point I'm trying to make there, Pastor Rodney, is that there's great people living among us. Sometimes we take them for granted, and then I think that Dr. Francis Severin was a very good friend of mine. I'm sure he's a very good friend of yours. I know he's a very good friend of Dr. Hazel Ricketts. He put it very well. He said he called her a woman that is unfettered, unbound, unconstrained, and unequivocal. I don't think you can find more to say. The harness encompasses everything about this lady. I mean, she's really, truly a gem. I wish that a lot of young ladies would look more closely at her. And I hope that at the end of tonight and at the days that we've been given a promotion, everybody in Dominica and the region by now will know who Dr. Hazel Ricketts is, the best ophthalmologist in the region. And I hope they all come to Dominica to her business to get the eyes checked on. So, Pastor Rodney, I just wanted to say those few words to say. I think all of this tells us that we have great people among us. We need to honor them because, you see, sometimes it takes an ordinary person to do extraordinary things. This is what Dr. Hazel Ricketts embodies. An ordinary person, come from very humble beginnings, but she's doing extraordinary things, not only in Dominica, but in the region and farther afield.
And that's so very, very, very correct. And that's why we do what we do. I will take two final calls, Mr. G, and I want you to repair with me as we do our presentation to Dr. Hazel tonight. We believe in the practice, really, of giving people their flowers while they're alive, and we like to give them live flowers. You know what I mean? On the telephone, good evening. You are tuned in tonight to the honoring of Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts.
Hello, good evening to everyone in studio tonight, as well as all the listeners at home and abroad.
Yes.
Hi, so I'd like to begin by saying that I have been a patient of Dr. Ricketts from birth up until this present moment, and I can honestly say without a doubt that Dr. Ricketts' presence has played such a major role in my life. Not only has Dr. Ricketts been of tremendous assistance to me health-wise, but she also has never failed to maintain such a loving and warm and kind relationship with my mother and myself. Truthfully, without Dr. Ricketts' expertise, I'm not sure if I would even be able to be granted the gift of sight presently. So I've said it before, but I just honestly want to once again express my deepest sense of gratitude and thankfulness towards you, Dr. Ricketts. I truly pray that God richly blesses you and allows you to reap the fruits of your hard labor. Trust and believe that your work will never, ever go unnoticed. I appreciate you so much, and I just want to encourage you to continue impacting and changing lives as you have done for me in the past and presently. I'm really wishing you all the best and much more moving forward. You truly deserve all of your flowers tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much to you as well for those expressions of love. And that looks like my final call on the telephone this evening. And good night. You are tuned in and connected to us as we celebrate and honor Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts.
Good evening, brother.
Yes.
I am there to honor and to thank God for Dr. Ricketts. My mother had surgery in 2014 at 90 years in one eye, and it's a blessing. Today she's 99, and if her pills fall on the floor, she will tell you, look, it's right there, and you cannot see it, and she sees it. I want to be thankful. She's a little related to us. My UG and my grandfather, the first cousin, but never
And your
mind.
and your grandfather?
Yes.
Okay.
Anyway, I am grateful. My mother is Tina from Juba. God bless her. And may she continue. And if she would have done to the second one, what she just felt it was too much trouble for my daughter and my son to move her from a wheelchair to the hospital to give up a college PSCOT. And today, she sees better than I am seeing at 72. I thank God for Dr. Ricketts. May God bless her and her family. We love you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And tonight, I'm sure that all of Hazel's children know now that Hazel is a mother to plenty more than you all. Mr. G, that's what I love. I love to do this. I really love to do this because I really believe it's a step in the right direction, and I will always give it my 100% support.
Well, the thing is that, Pastor, it's just a delight, really. And we have some good people on our committee who are working very well and contributing, helping to select the right people. Because as Dr. Severus said, you have to honor people who really deserve to be honored. And really and truly, greatness cannot be measured by the color of the robe you wear, how much glen you have. It's really the simple things of how you make other people's lives better. Sometimes that great personal sacrifice to yourself and your family. I think Dr. Ricketts embodies that, and we really appreciate her very much tonight. I think she's really an extraordinary woman. The children know that. All of Dominica knows that. Many Dominicans abroad know that as well. All her colleagues overseas, they know that. They've all testified to that. So we really just want to embrace her and recognize her and award her tonight. Give her applause while she's alive, Dr. Rodney. I hope you're going to do that now.
Yes, we're about to do that now. I'm ringing the flowers. So the flowers can walk into the studio right now. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what we do. Like I said, we don't, we can put some flowers in your grave, but you don't see it. We rather bring the flowers for you. Yes, yeah. You want to talk to us?
No, they were 4 more.
They were?
Yes.
No. That's all we have, eh?
Okay.
That's all we have. All right. So the flowers are going to walk. Mr. G, the flowers are about walking, and you know what happens, right? You take over that host chair as you describe to the people what's happening here this evening.
Yeah, well, as long as Sherwin can let me see what is happening, I will certainly try to describe it. I know the flowers are beautiful for one thing, so let's just hope Sherwin can
So you pass those flowers for me so that Mr. G can see that they are beautiful. I want him to, like a good radio person, describe to the people out there what he's seeing, and
I don't even need to describe it because they're seeing it just as well as I can. And it's really beautiful bouquet of flowers. So I hope when Sherwin is taking the pics with you, he'll put it you in a place where I can see you and the world can see you handing out the flowers physically to Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts and her children. So, Pastor Rodney, yes, I will just do a little commentary while you're on. In the meantime, let me just actually reach out to all these people on Facebook. My friend, Father Herman Sharpless, I was very happy to see you on here with us tonight. I'm sure you showered a lot of blessings on Dr. Hazel Ricketts tonight. Also, Mr. David Joseph was really a true supporter of the program that we're doing for me and for our committee, it's really an absolute delight for us to do this. And I think the people who are viewing us on Facebook can see now that Dr. Pastor Rodney has handed the flowers to Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts, and is now getting ready to hand her a plaque of appreciation and recognition, her award for really being what she really is. I mean, I truly
You
feel.
want me to read that on the plaque, Mr. G? It says, kudos to our hero, Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts, recognition and appreciation for her lifetime achievements as an ophthalmologist, humanitarian, and entrepreneur.
Very true. And all of that is absolutely true. And I think everybody who spoke about it tonight certainly endorsed that, certified that without a doubt. And I think that Dr. Hazel Ricketts can spend the rest of her life knowing that this is how people really feel about her. I think it's comforting when you've done all this work. You've worked hard. You've tried to be the best that you can be. You've tried to inspire others to be the best they can be. It's time to get that kind of reward. And there's no person more deserving of that reward than Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts. I see Pastor Rodney's handing an envelope to Dr. Ricketts as well. So I'm assuming there is something in that envelope. I am not going to disclose what is in it, but I certainly believe there must be something in that envelope there tonight. So Pastor Rodney, I think this is going to be making some very beautiful photos. We'll have those photos on our website tomorrow. So anyone who wants to see those photos of the presentation here tonight, they can certainly go to www.q95da.com. It's going to be right there on the home page, and so you'll have 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 photos. And certainly if anyone wants to watch this whole program, they can go to our Facebook page or YouTube page, Q95 FM Radio, and you can take a look at the entire proceedings if you were not able to look at it tonight.
Thank you very much, Mr. G. I want to now give my friend Hazel an opportunity to share her thoughts on our appreciation and honoring of her this evening.
Thank you very much, Pastor Rodney. I must say I am in awe of what transpired here tonight, and I'm very grateful that many persons came together to express their gratitude for my service. Sometimes when you work, things don't go the way you like it. And my trainer would say, "Oh, Mommy, you should say this and you should say that." And I would tell them, no, the objective of my practice is to provide service to persons, is not to protect myself and keep myself up above others. So this is my mantra for working, service to others. And I'd like to thank Mr. Gregoire, who's been working closely with me over a couple of weeks to get things ready. The committee for selecting me, Pastor Rodney for chairing the program tonight, and my family, great support from my children and extended family, and to the persons who committed themselves to submitting voicemails, testifying to my work. There were a few others that didn't come through, but we have a long program, and I want to let them know I appreciated their submissions also. To the general public, to my patients, thank you very much for allowing me to get into your cocosier. And get into literally. I know sometimes when I have to lobby for resources for eye care, I have to remind them it's not because the cocosier is the smallest organ in the body that it means we do not need resources. So I literally use that word when I am lobbying and advocating for my patients and their care. Thank you, everyone. I must say, I don't know how I'm going to sleep tonight because I'm really feeling quite elevated in the clouds, but I will take some time and go over the Facebook and the Q95 program and look through the comments and reply as I see necessary. Thank you very much.
Well, we are very happy that you accepted our our decision to honor you, and all thanks to you. And we appreciate you. Want you to know that. And this is not just talk. This is the fact that we appreciate you. We deliberate sometimes very heavily on this, and we have some people on the committee who can be feisty. They want to ask all the questions, and who's that we honoring, and why are we honoring them, and that brings out, I believe, the best people in those that we're honoring. And I'm grateful as well to the entire committee for that. And Cool Carbon Collective, Mr. G sits as the chairperson, so he's a good referee, and making sure that we are taking the right directions in that regard. So my thanks to the entire committee, Corinne and Dr. Dion George, who's there with us, Dr. Simone just left, and the others who are working with us on this. We're very appreciative of that. Leroy Wadiko Charles, who I expected here tonight, but I'm sure he has good reason for not being here this evening. And they all work together with us on that. Oh, well, great thanks to you. Yes.
Okay. So, Pastor Rodney, about the check, I am really grateful for it. And
We call it an offering.
Offering. But I remember once I won a telephone at a fair, and everybody, Dr. Shillingford, give somebody the phone. No, you don't need that phone, And so tonight, I'm not saying I cannot use the money, but I promised a young man that I would donate it to him and his work that he's doing. And he's Mr. Loic Charles. As you know, Mr. Charles was gone blind from retinopathy of prematurity, and he's our first Dominican student that has completed high school, gone to college, gone to university, and he's back here with his degree, working with the Dominica Association of Persons with Disability. And he has formed a foundation to extend working with this association. So from the time I was selected, I told him, look, I am going to pass on to you this check to help you in your work. So Loic, you've got your money coming to you. Thank you very much again. Thank you.
Mr. G, that's how far the effort goes, all right?
Well, yes, and
we are appreciative of that as well.
This is the whole intention, to do something for somebody. And this is typical of Dr. Ricketts. She gets something, she gives it to somebody else to make their life better. This is why we do what we do. I just love doing this program, Pastor Rodney. It's really a delight for me.
Mr. G, I just wanted to share one quote. Someone sent me, every Monday, this co-worker of mine sends me a quote. And as we're working and speaking about Dr. Ricketts, this quote reminds me of you. It is attributed to Winston Churchill, and your example of donating what you've received is an embodiment, really, of this quote. It says, we make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. So thank you for making thousands of lives by all of the service, the kindness, the goodness, the talent that you have given to so many. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to all of you who listened to us this evening, who joined us, who called us, who spoke with us, who sent your tributes and all of that. We are very, very grateful for that. We're looking forward again to our 17th hero in the next couple months. We'll be honoring our 17th hero, and we look forward to your support and your usual staying with us on the program. And of course, we always say that if you want to join us in making sure that we honor these people well enough, feel free to contact the Q95 FM and send your contributions. I'm sure we'll all appreciate it and make sure that we provide living flowers to living people. All right. That's what we hear about. Thank you, gentlemen, for accompanying your mother, your hero, here tonight. And we know that you have to be proud of your mom. With this or not this, you would have been proud of your mom anyway. But you hear not only from your family, but you heard from so many other people who this woman meant to them. And that's what we're about. Not just honoring the degree, but honoring the person. And
Amen. Amen.
Yeah, the person. Hazel, you're a good person, you're a good citizen, you have a good heart.
Amen.
We love you.
Thank you very much, Pastor.
God bless you. Good night, all.
Good night.
Tout le monde.
Good night, Rodney.
Yes.
Just say good night to everybody.
All right. Good
Yeah.
night.
Thank you, everybody.
You're welcome.
Good night to all of you.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night, Dr. Ricketts.
Good night.
And if you try to fix more,
That's why we call it a day, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be back on your radio on Wednesday morning for Rise and Shine. And the next Monday night, we'll be here for Kingdom Connection. Until then, you have a great evening and stay tuned to Q tonight.
for people like you. If you stand up for those down on their knees and lend a voice to those who cannot speak. If you shine a little light, give sight to the ones who've lost their way. There's a place for people like you. I've heard that the streets are made of gold, and when you get there, there's a hand to hold. When your day's down here through, there's a place up there for people like you. If you walk around with your heart on your sleeve, and if you're trying to be the change you want to see, if you lay down your life for love so someone could be saved, there's a place for people like you. I've heard that streets are made of gold, and when you get there, there's a hand to hold. When your days down here through, it's a place for people like you.